event in our calendar. So annually, we will have a topic on blue economy that will bring together institutions, companies, thinkers of both Portugal and Belgium, but also with a European angle. As we are in the capital of Europe, we will have also participation of members of the Parliament and the European Commission. Before I kick off, I would like to thank the participants, in particular, if I may, Minister Vincent van Quickenborne, Deputy Minister, Prime Minister, and the Minister for Justice and of the North Sea of Belgium. Welcome, Minister. Minister Professor Ricardo Serrão Santos, Minister of Maritime Affairs of Portugal. Minister, welcome. I would like also to thank the speakers, the chairs, all the participants for being here today, and remind you that this is not at all an end in itself, just a means for us to continue knowing each other and doing business afterwards and exchanging. So after this session, and please do take note of all the things that will be said and shown here today, because certainly you will identify partners with whom you can do business with or have exchanges with or investigate with. So this is the most important outcome of this event. It's going to be the exchanges that will occur after the event. At the end of this session, I will also tell you about this mission we are organizing to Viana do Castelo, north of Portugal. Also with this group of companies and other companies in Belgium that we have come across, we are going to bring them to Viana do Castelo to discuss blue economy, but in Portugal. And hopefully we will do exactly the same, but in the opposite sense. So bringing Portuguese companies and institutions to Belgium so that the ties will be stronger and business will certainly arise from these ties. So welcome all. I will also like to thank our team here at the Belgian-Portuguese Chamber of Commerce. We have just celebrated 83 years. So it's quite an old traditional chamber here in Belgium. And we are all voluntary, so we do not do this as a job. It's our passion. And I would like to thank in particular our Vice President, Piet Harens, for all the effort that he has put in this event, but also our Secretary General, Pierre Poncelet, our Assistant, Inês Giasteira, for all the work they've put on a voluntary basis in this event. So as I said, this event is also due thanks to Mr. Frederico Cardigos, that is today Chief of Staff of Minister Ricardo Santos from Portugal. So thank you, Frederico, again for kicking this off. So without further ado, I will pass the floor to Minister Vincent van Quickenborne, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Justice and the North Sea of Belgium. Minister, please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Rui, for this kind introduction, ladies and gentlemen. To all of you, good afternoon. It's the second time that this week that our two countries, Belgium and Portugal, meet. And I'm sure that this encounter won't be nearly as suspenseful and intense as Sunday's match was for both sides. But today we are not here as competitors, but as collaborators. And it's good to see that there is so much enthusiasm among the Belgian and Portuguese entrepreneurs to invest in the blue economy. You should know that about 90% of the things that you have in your house arrive by ship. Our maritime sector was and still is designated as an essential service so that the supply of various goods would not be compromised during Corona. Portugal being a country with a great naval history, I don't have to convince you of the economic importance of the sea. In terms of employment, the blue economy in Belgium, in my country, provides us with nearly 80,000 jobs. And each blue economy job generates one additional job in the rest of the economy. In a country like Portugal, the economic impact of the sea is obviously different of magnitude than Belgium. But in Belgium, we only have 67 kilometers of shoreline. To put that into perspective, that is slightly more than the distance between Porto and Aveiro. So that means that we have to put the Belgian part of the North Sea to good use and invest in a highly specialized and innovative blue economy. We are, for instance, home to two global leading companies in the dredging business. That is the expertise of DEME, and Jan de Nul is wanted worldwide. Our country is fifth in the world when it comes to offshore wind energy. And this is a booming industry in our country. Belgian engineers are collaborating with their Portuguese colleagues on the wind float Atlantic project, the windmills, the floating windmills off the Portuguese coast. And we are also part of the international low emission zone on the North Sea. We are the first and only country to deploy sniffer planes to measure the emissions of shipping vessels in the North Sea. And as of tomorrow, the Belgian North Sea is one of the first testing grounds with the necessary legal framework to experiment with unmanned vessels. So from the 1st of July, that is. In addition, the sea is also vital to our long-term well-being, especially in the fight against global warming. That's a joint battle. And our country is fully committed to this. The blue economy must be sustainable and environmentally friendly. This way we can preserve the blue power of our North Sea for future generations. In 2014, Belgium was one of the first countries to have a binding marine spatial plan. We continued this pioneering role in the previous legislature with the revision of the plan. Since last year, the new marine spatial plan for the period 2020-2026 has entered into force. This allows the various activities at sea to take place safely along each other. Only those projects for which it is scientifically proven that they have no adverse effects on the ecosystems, they are eligible to receive a permit. Because the Belgian part of the North Sea is the largest nature reserve in the country, no less than 37% of our North Sea is designated as marine protected area. Over the years, we have gained a lot of knowledge about the sea, precisely because of the many complex activities in a very busy zone. Because in addition to traditional users of the sea, such as fishing, military activities, shipping, and sand extraction, we also see new activities emerging in the North Sea. And this makes it an ideal testing ground for innovation and scientific research. This brings me to today's topic. How can we effectively use the data we gather from all that research to inform our policies? Belgium has many reputable knowledge institutions that conduct research at sea and experiment with innovative techniques. For example, we have created a reef off the coast with the help of tunneling worms, mussels, and seaweed grown on special mats. By creating this natural buffer, we can prevent tons of sand from being washed away during a heavy storm. While Belgium has emerged as the world's fifth largest producer of offshore energy, we are also developing extensive knowledge and expertise on the environmental impact of offshore wind farms. Our scientists have been carrying out rigorous research in the last 13 years, finding new ways to limit the environmental impact of construction, measuring the effects on seabirds, underwater life, and sediment erosion. We have found that offshore wind farms can even have a positive impact on the environment. For example, by creating undisturbed areas with less current where sea life thrives. We're also pioneering in other technological areas, like the development of autonomous and unmanned vessels. In order to stimulate this sector, we are providing a legal framework to allow pilot projects with these types of vessels at sea. A new regulation will come into force tomorrow, the 1st of July. Together with Norway and France, Belgium is the first in the world to provide such a uniform framework. This makes the Belgian North Sea an ideal testing ground for innovative companies working on self-steering navigation, remote control of ships, and autonomous underwater vessels. These underwater vessels can help us explore and better understand the unique ecosystem of the seabed. of which our current knowledge is very incomplete. The same goes for deep sea. 80% of the oceans remain unexplored. Belgium will take the initiative to further support fundamental scientific research and data collection in these areas, so we can better protect marine ecosystems. This way, Belgium is playing its part on the international stage. We are currently working on a revision of the Belgian legislation on deep sea mining. This is currently in an advanced stage. For us, it is crucial when developing possible exploitation rules for deep sea mining, environmental legislation and the precautionary principle are respected in order to safeguard the biodiversity of the unique marine ecosystems. As you know, protecting marine ecosystems out in international waters is a priority for our country as a so-called blue leader. I'm therefore pleased to be able to open this event together with my Portuguese colleague, Sigao Santos, a staunch supporter of the Blue Leader's objective of protecting at least 30% of the world's ocean through a global network of strong and fully protected marine areas by 2030. Therefore, 30-30. Plus, to start negotiations together for a strong new UN Convention on the High Seas. These two actions will give the ocean a fighting chance as we face an unprecedented climate and biodiversity crisis. I'm looking forward to meeting my Portuguese colleague for the first time in person at the end of September, at the OSPAR ministerial meeting, which your country will host. We can take up the gauntlet together for a new global target for the protection of biodiversity. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I hope I have offered you a first glimpse of the work that Belgium has done, not only in stimulating the blue economy, but also in collecting data to optimize the complex operations at sea, support decisions, and enhance safety. More will be discussed here today, but I'm also excited to hear about the work Portugal has done in this field and how we can learn from one another, collaborate, and find new ways to further our knowledge of the oceans. Let's make it happen together. Obrigado.
Obrigado, Mr. Van Quickenborne, the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Justice and the North Sea of Belgium. We thank you for your support to this initiative and your enthusiasm. And we wish you the best and the Belgian people with the European Championship. Of course, now that Portugal is out at the Belgian Chamber of Commerce, Belgian-Portuguese Chamber of Commerce, we will be supporting Belgium, of course. Now, I will then pass the floor to Professor Ricardo Serrão Santos, Minister of Maritime Affairs of Portugal. Please, Minister, the floor is yours.
Now it sounds. Hello, good afternoon to all, and my dear Minister Vicente van Quickenborne. Thank you very much for your comprehensive approach, and let me also congratulate you as for the qualification and of the Belgium in the football, and wish you that you keep the great performance. You have a great team. Congratulations and good luck. And the President of the Chamber of Commerce of Belgium and Portugal, Rui Faria da Cunha. Of course, I would like to start by thanking this Chamber of Commerce, the Belgian-Portuguese, for the kind invitation to give this keynote speech. I feel very honored. It's not the first time that I participate on one of these meetings, and I did that with great pleasure and interest, of course. I'm particularly pleased to speak to you today because it is the last day of the Portuguese presidency of the European Union Council, and during the past 6 months, we have tried and we have proceeded to make the most of this opportunity to address pressing issues like Brexit and the issue of fisheries, biodiversity and conservation, and ocean management, and of course, the issues of blue economy. We dedicated these months of June to the sea. We organized many events, meetings and conference, highlighting the sea as a key factor in the post-pandemic recovery of the economy. We held a ministerial meeting and conference conference in Lisbon a few weeks ago in the World's Ocean Day, the 8th of June, as you all know, focused on the Council conclusions on integrated maritime policy that were approved last month of May. And they were fully dedicated to sustainable economy. The 5 vectors of the Portuguese presidency are present in that document, which acknowledge that the sea must be undisputedly present in a resilient, green, digital, social, and global Europe. As maritime nations whose history, economy, and worldview were very much shaped by our relationships with the oceans, Belgium and Portugal are fully aware of the vital importance of increasing our knowledge of the oceans and protected the marine environment, as Mr. Vicente just also mentioned. We are also aware of the extraordinary wealth of opportunities the ocean provides. We have been like-minded countries in virtually all aspects of maritime policy, and we believe the European Union should have a leading role in the international agenda of the ocean. On the 1st of June, let me say that I had the pleasure to participate in New York in a high-level debate in the United Nations, in the headquarters of the United Nations, of course, in a high-level debate in support of SDG 14, inviting all nations to come to Lisbon next year to the United Nations Ocean Conference to address an effective and action-oriented sustainable use of the ocean. And this is an invitation I extend to all of you today. While I was in New York, on the same day in Berlin, the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development was launched, a process that will change, I believe, in the next 10 years, one of the axes we highlighted in the Council conclusions. And this axis is the ocean knowledge. Better scientific knowledge of the ocean is key to protect its species and ecosystems and to enable a sustainable economy. Portugal and Belgium must continue to work together to promote international cooperation and science diplomacy for the ocean. On the 3rd and 4th of June, Portugal organized the All-Atlantic Research and Innovation Conference in the Azores Islands, gathering participants from Europe, Africa, and North and South America. In the last day of this event, the Azores Declaration on All-Atlantic Research in Innovation for a Sustainable Ocean was approved, calling for collective action towards taking a systematic approach and strengthening knowledge about the interactions between the ocean, the climate change, food, and space, through advanced Earth observation systems and their integration with in situ sensors and scientific knowledge and information along the water column and in the deep sea floor and subsea floor also. We hope to follow up on a vision of connecting, cooperating, and acting together for the Atlantic Ocean. Our aim is to deliver solutions to accelerate a green and digital transition while building a fairer and resilient society and ocean community. We should build on digital tools like ocean observation with the aim to have a sustainable ocean with thriving ecosystems from pole to pole. And looking to ocean, climate, and space interactions from space-based systems and technologies relies on continuous developments on Earth observation systems, in situ sensor networks, and their integration with advanced information systems, including artificial intelligence and the ability to process and share massive data sets. Healthy ocean concerns all of us and has the potential to be a changing factor in all modern societies, reminded us about what we should pass on future generations. Besides, being an engaging issue that inspires new business ideas, international cooperation and solidarity, and also intergenerational debates, the the health of the ocean requires three basic issues: new scientific knowledge on climate and ocean interactions to effectively address the challenge of the green, blue, and digital transitions, making use of opportunities across all disciplinary areas. Two, institutional innovation across our current institutional landscape and diversified stakeholders, building the necessary economic resilience, but also addressing the social context and, above all, the inequalities that persist across our societies. And third, guarantee new observation and monitoring methods, infrastructures, and technologies to better guide our common future and to better understand and act on ocean living pathways and their ecological impacts, including the development of early warning and monitoring systems. A few weeks ago, the Portuguese Prime Minister António Costa, at a conference debating the future of Europe that was organized in situ in Strasbourg, said this: others have given priority to the moon or to Mars. Europe must embrace the oceans as a cause and a mission. And this statement reinforced my understanding that the right political signals are being passed in Portugal as well as in Belgium, and of course in the European Union. We need now to make sure that these signals are effective and mobilize or continuing mobilize all sectors of our society: scientists, business leaders, financial institutions, NGOs, and politicians, as well as our international partners. Before ending, or just ending, I would like to stress that I'm personally available to increase the relations of our two countries in what concerns blue economy. There is already an history, there are projects, links, and connections. Let's strengthen this proud history and build an even more interconnected future. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all the best for this edition of the Belgian-Portuguese Routes for the Blue Economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Professor Ricardo Ferrão Santos. It was indeed a very good idea that you gave us, having this sea as Europe's mission. I think that's the best message that we heard from your very interesting presentation. Indeed, Europe has a very good and long connection with the seas, and both Portugal and Belgium can play an important role in exploiting the richnesses of the sea on a sustainable way. Thank you both, ministers, for being here today. We look forward to seeing you next year's edition of the Belgian-Portuguese Routes. Meanwhile, we wish you a good continued work together in having these two countries that are very alike cooperating in the development of the seas. Thank you, ministers. Now, I was waiting for the European Commission's representative, Mr. Ian Shepherd, to join us, but I'm not sure if he has already joined or not, unless he's with another name, but I don't think so. So probably he will join us later, which leads me to start then the session number 1, whose title is Understanding and Optimizing Ocean Observations. The chair at this session is Frederico Ferreira from Fórum Oceano in Portugal. Frederico, thank you for accepting our invitation. It's a pleasure to see you again. And I'll give you the floor. Please do introduce the speakers of this session. And then, of course, I would like you to conduct the works of the session. And I will come back to you after the session to present the session number 2. Thank you, Frederico.
Thank you very much, Rui. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here to invite Fórum Oceano. Fórum Oceano is the Portuguese maritime cluster recognized by the Portuguese government. We don't have 83 years like the Chamber of Commerce Belgium Portugal, but we have already 12. So it's already quite an achievement. And I'm very glad to be here virtually, although I participate in the first one in person, and I hope we can do it again next year. Also, I'm very happy to be here with the relation we have with Belgium. We have a MOU signed with the Blauw cluster of Belgium, so our counterpart in Belgium, and we think there's a lot of opportunities to bring together. I'm a project officer at Oceanography. I follow some of the thematics of the blue economy, namely marine renewables, ports and logistics, ocean technology. And I'm very happy to share this session because without ocean observation and monitorization and understanding the resource, and we cannot have a blue economy. A blue economy in the way sustainable and environmentally friendly, and we need to know more about the resource so we can take advantage of the opportunities, and new opportunities will arise, as the ministers said, and we, for sure, to take advantage of this resource, we need to know it. So, and we will need in the future, for sure, for better technology, more systematic data, and better models to understand the ocean. But I'm not an expert on ocean observation, so we have 3 presentations on this panel, and I will pass the floor for our first speaker, Telmo Morato. That will be his presentation is about observing the ocean. And Telmo Morato is from the University of Açores. Açores is the region that gives Portugal his maritime dimension. Without Açores and Madeira, we will be a small country in terms of the ocean. And Telmo, his research is on understanding the deep sea ecosystems. And so I will pass the floor to him to give his presentation. Thank you very much, Telmo. The floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning here in the Azores. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. Myself with Marina Carreiro Silva, we lead the Azores Deep Sea Research Group. And we are very pleased to be in the Belgian-Portuguese route for the Blue Economy conference today. As a background, the mission that myself and Marina embraced some years ago is to increase the understanding of the natural diversity, but also the ecosystem structure, function, connectivity, and resilience of the deep sea communities in the Azores. But we also do work in other ocean basins, not only in the Atlantic, but also in the Pacific and in the collaborations with the Indian Ocean. And we do all this research in the context of a changing planet. And the main goal is not only to increase the understanding, but also to inform policy and the sustainable use of natural resources. This mission is being put in place with the collaboration of many different groups and funders around the globe. And these are just some of the past projects that help putting this mission in place over the last 10 years. This mission started, I have to say, with Ricardo Santos when he was one of the main scientists here in the Azores, and built a very good team of deep sea scientists that then, after he left, continued doing deep sea research in the Azores. So, you know, the research, the Azores is massive, it's big. It's composed of 9 islands, from Flores to Santa Maria. But the main thing is that it's 1 million square kilometers in size, the marine area. So this is about 10 times the terrestrial mainland Portugal and about 30 times larger than mainland Belgium. So it's a massive area. But as you can see from the figure, the average depth is about 3,000 meters, which means that the deep sea, is the most common area in our region. However, most of the human activities, as we know for today, and it doesn't include possible activities in the future, are concentrated in a small area. Therefore, we set the mission that we would work or try to visit every little geomorphological structure down to 1,000 meters in the Azores in order to get the best biological information to understand why the drivers of species distribution and to inform management. And how do you put this mission in place? We need research operations and also technological developments. So this is the number of video surveys, for example, that we had before 2015, when we decided that we would visit every single structure down to 1,000 meters. It seemed a bit crazy as a mission when we had so little information, as you can see from the red dots with our ROV transects. But then with increased collaboration with international partners and projects, we were able to start increasing the amount of information for the deep sea in the Azores, but nevertheless, the developments are being slow. So we embraced another project and challenge, which was to develop a low-cost technology that would allow us to do a rapid appraisal of what lives inside the Azores EEZ, and with this, to improve our knowledge of the natural capital of our region and to, again, inform management. And it means that by 2021, and we are just before the busiest summer season for field work, we have already visited a large portion of those infrastructures, geomorphological structures that we aim to visit until 2020 or 2021. So I will just briefly present some of the highlights of the research that we have conducted that are also relevant for management. For example, we found that the Azores is a hotspot of cold water corals, mostly of one family called the octa corals, within the whole Atlantic. So this is where the most of the biodiversity of cold water corals exists in the Atlantic. We also found that, for example, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which is the largest mountain chain on the planet, supports more life and diversity than previous study indicated, which means that we should look at the mid-ocean ridges very carefully, mostly when we plan new human activities like, for example, deep sea mining. But we also discovered new species, and one example is the Episwanthus martinse, and martinse, it's in recognition of our colleague Ellen Martins, which developed a lot of work here in the Azores and promote the new scientists and young scientists to develop and to make their career. And we also found new communities, new biotopes, and also new species associations. And also very important that there are a few endemic species in the deep sea of the Azores, and they have a very limited distribution, which means that we should identify where those places are in order to promote the conservation and sustainable management of the deep sea in the Azores. Another highlight that I wanted to show, although I think the video is kind of slow on your hand, it's that we discovered the densest aggregations of bubblegum corals of the species Paragorgia johnsoni in the Azores. And these species form three-dimensional habitats and are really important for the other species that live associated to them, like, for example, fish with commercial importance. Another relevant discovery that was made just a few weeks ago was the discovery of the large aggregations of black corals that we found across the Atlantic. And black corals live so slow that some of these colonies that we are seeing in the video can be 3,000 years old. So if we impact these colonies, it will take probably forever for these communities to recover, because by the time they will recover, the climate may have already changed, and therefore they will not have the ideal conditions to start living. And we compared the large forest that we discovered recently with the redwood forest that we find, for example, in the US, because they are some of the oldest trees on the planet, and these are some of the oldest animals that we have on the deep sea. We also discovered some Lophilia madrapera coral thickets. They are not really coral reefs, but we thought due to the climate change, these coral thickets were not present anymore in the Azores. And we found that in the recent surveys that these thickets are really important because these species and other species of corals they are act as carbon reservoirs, and they are really important in mitigating climate change. And just before I finish in terms of the highlights, in 2018 we discovered a new hydrothermal vent 60 miles or 70 miles from Fayal Island, which means that every time we go out to the sea, we find new species, we find new habitats, and we even find new hydrothermal vents. And this vent, for example, it's really important to fueling local productivity because they are very rich in iron, and iron, when brought to the surface and made available to phytoplankton, it increases local productivity and then attracts large pelagic animals like tuna and other fish that are of commercial importance. So the last thing that I really want to mention is that in this very last expedition, we also found aggregations of long-lived orange ruffian cardinal fish. These species would not be here in the Azores, in these places that we found, if the Azores government with Madeira and the Canary Islands didn't accept banning bottom trawling in the Azores in 2005. And now we found not only the positive effects of these management measures in the species, but also in the habitats that these species are associated with. So just a final note, we still don't know. It's common to say that we know more about Mars than we know about and the moon that we know about the deep sea, and this is true. Last 3 weeks ago, we went to the sea. We found one area that is shallower than 600 meters in depth, which is within fishable areas. But because it was not known, it's still it's considered intact, and it's important from a scientific perspective because it may act as a reference site. But it also means that, for example, we don't know how many mountains we have in our territory and in our waters. So all this information is then used to inform spatial planning and decision making. And this was a work that we have been developed over the last 2 years in order to inform maritime spatial planning in the Azores to achieve certain conservation goals that were agreed not only with the government but also with the stakeholders. And we produced several scenarios where the important areas should be located to address those management goals and objectives. So all this information is being used to synthesize and then pass to managers and to policymakers. So in terms of the Belgian-Portuguese collaborations, we have been, as Ricardo mentioned, working together with many colleagues from Belgian research institutions, mostly University of Ghent, but also Seascape Belgium, and also the European Marine Board, which lives in Belgium as well. But these collaborations can be definitely increased. And also we could probably thinking about sharing infrastructures, and I congratulate Belgium for having the courage to invest on a new research vessel called the Belgica 2, which I think it's top in their technology they use. So we have lots of deep sea to be explored. Belgium has this very brand new research vessel. There's probably for sure avenues for collaboration. So just to finish, I want to thank you again for the invitation. Yeah, I'll be here to answer any questions you may have now or later.
Thank you very much, Telmo. I didn't want to interrupt. You passed 1 or 2 minutes your time, but it's also fascinating that I just wanted also to see the new discoveries in the deep sea of Azores. That is fascinating as always, and also you touch a very important thing, that this is the basis for special maritime special planning, and to know the resource better, and to know what to protect, like the trawl ban and the positive effects that had in the ecosystem. So thank you very much, Telmo. I will now pass the floor to Flávio Martins from University of Algarve. He's professor coordinator. He develops research in hydrodynamics, water quality, and ecological modeling. So I will pass the floor to Flávio. He has more than 25 years of experience and participated in more than 15 international projects. So Flávio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Federico. I will share my screen. Okay, so thank you so much for the kind invitation. It's a pleasure to be here to present the work we are developing at the University of Algarve, namely in the Environmental and Marine Research Center, CIMA. So I will show you the role of digital technology in operational oceanography on support of blue economy, and I will give some examples in the coast of Algarve. So short summary, I will start with a very brief reference on ocean observation and also on the techniques of model downscaling. Then I will present the SOMA operational modeling system that we are running at the University of Algarve. And then a few applications in the POLEX 17 exercise and on oil spill detections. And then I will discuss future perspectives. Ocean observation, as we know, the ocean is global. And so the efforts for the observation and for the assessment must also be global. One of the main activities or main structures to coordinate observation is the GOOS, the Global Ocean Observation System. The EuroGOOS is the European Alliance. The GOOS is divided by alliances, and the EuroGOOS is the European Alliance. And it gathers information from many sources, from buoys, fixed platforms, from gliders, from Argo buoys, high-frequency radars, tide gauges, ferry boxes, or even animal-borne instruments. And it integrates all this information. And this information is very important to give a global picture of the ocean, but it has gaps and it only observes the present and the past. It doesn't observe the future. So we need to fill those gaps and we need to forecast the future. And for that, we need mathematical methods, basically models or artificial intelligence, which are also a subsection of models. And for that, we have at the European level, we have the Copernicus marine system, which is used to produce forecasts and analysis that can be used for very different applications, such as climate change, oil spill forecasts, harmful algal blooms, ship routing, so many applications on the blue economy. But this is a European level analysis. So it's global. The products produced in Copernicus are global products which don't have enough resolution to analyze operations in local scale. So the resolution of the models are not enough. And to solve that, we have a method called downscaling. Basically, downscaling is to use that data, so data from Copernicus and from GOOS, and use high-resolution regional and local models to produce products to the blue economy. So basically, models that produce forecasts that can add the activities in the blue economy. So I will present the SOMA operational system. So this is the system we are running at the University of Algarve. When we say operational, it means it is running every day. So this is a modeling system that is running every day using data from Copernicus and from other systems and producing everyday forecasts. Pretty much the same of what we see in meteorological forecasts. So in this case, this is a system of nested models with 3 levels of models. It uses bathymetric from MODNet, which is also part of the European structure. It uses meteorological data from meteorological models and boundary conditions for the ocean from the Copernicus system. It also uses in situ data from buoys, from CTDs, from remote sensing also. And we run the model, as I said, and we produce 3-day forecasts of hydrodynamic variables. And on demand, we can also produce 3-day forecasts of oil spills and water quality, other properties. So this is just a picture of the three levels I was referring. So the first level, level 0, is a level at the area of Iberia. The main objective is to propagate the tide into the region of South Portugal. And then we have these two levels in south of Portugal, which are three-dimensional models.
Hello, yeah, we're from PG Mare. We're
Hello, yeah.
Continue. I think someone unmute.
No worries. So these are
sorry. I'm in the.
These are two levels of three-dimensional models with decreasing resolution, and the level 2 has a grid of 1 kilometer, so enough resolution to solve problems for the blue economy in the regional level. To give you an idea of what operational means, so basically we have methods to automatically run the model every day. So if you see here the timeline, so every day we run the model and we produce 3-day forecasts, and in the next day we restart the model and we run again 3-day forecasts. So every day we have methods to download the forcing data, to analyze the data, to process it, to run the simulation, to control the results, and to populate databases. And once every week, we need to restart the model, assimilating data from observations into a new set of runs. So, and for that, we use this weekly run. So this is just a brief idea of what an operational system means. So we are running the model for more than 1 year now. So it's about 1.5 years that we are running the model every day. These are just an example of the result. So this is the SOMA system, and we are presenting it in an interface that is from our Spanish colleagues. This is part of the Ocaso project, one of the projects that we have been running. So this is the interface of Puertos del Estado in Spain, and we are using this in this example to show the results. Obviously, this kind of models must be calibrated and validated. We have a very extensive work on this. I will not get too much into detail, but just to say the model is very well validated. Also with remote sensing images. And to complement this, we use observations using autonomous underwater vehicles. We are using this AUV that you see here in straight collaboration with the Portuguese Navy, and we are obtaining ocean variables to calibrate our model. So you can see the AUV starting the mission here, and it's a very, very interesting methodology for ocean observation. We have been collaborating with in many projects. I'm just bringing you here 2 examples. One is with the Navy in the international exercise, the POLEX 2017. It was an oil spill exercise where we were deploying these buoys to evaluate the performance of the model, and then we run different configurations of our model, and we compared the results of the model with the trajectory of the buoy. So you can see here the experiments that we have been doing, so to calibrate them to evaluate the performance of the model. And this is just a quantitative evaluation of the results. If you are interested, you can read this article. And this is a second example. In this case, it's also about oil spill, but in this case is oil spill detection and law enforcement. And in this case, the objective is to identify the offender of a spill. So we used an observation of a spill coming from the European Maritime Safety Agency. And this spill was detected here. And what we did was to run the model backwards in time. So basically, run the model backwards in time and to cross the information with the AIS signature of the vessels that were passing by, with the objective of identifying the offender. And analyzing the precision of the model, we could identify that possibly the offender would be this tanker that passed in this area at that time. So this is a method that can be used for.
Can you conclude in 30 seconds, 1 minute? Thank you.
Yeah. This is my last slide. So these are just 2 examples. But obviously, we can use this methodology for many activities in the blue economy, such as aquaculture, tidal power, tourism, and many others. And so these are the conclusions. The technology is ready. We need an institutional base to run these kind of systems. And we need a very strong connection with the economic sector. This is a weak point at this moment. And we need to continue investigation. I'm open to collaboration. So the CIMA Research Center is fully open to collaboration with the Belgian institutions and companies. We don't have so much collaboration at the present, but we are fully open for that. Just to thank these people and the support of the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Flavio. You touch also an important question, that is having a product that can be used by the activities of the blue economy. So a model that can predict and forecast, and you can have a tailor-made products like the oil spill and other things that can help the activities, and this is very important as also. So thank you very much for your very interesting presentation, but unfortunately the time is short, so I have to run the time. So thank you, Flavio, and I will pass the floor now for our Belgium speaker. I will not pronounce correctly his surname for sure, so I will pass the floor to Klaas Danault, manager of the Marine Observation Center at the Flanders Marine Institute. This institute is this center is a young and dynamic center that aims to perform essential and long-term multidisciplinary observations in the marine environment in order to improve our understanding of the dynamics and ecosystem functioning of the marine and coastal ecosystem. So the floor is yours, Klaas, and sorry for not pronouncing correctly your surname.
It's all right, Federico, and thank you for introducing me. We set up this presentation together at VLIS with myself and Wieter Bohne, head of the Marine Robotics Center. And the presentation is titled Building Next Generation Observation Systems for Coastal Marine Ecosystems. So as an introduction to this talk, I want to show a slide that was drafted by a Spanish colleague of us in the Jericho network we are involved in. And he brought this slide to the EU's Technology Forum, and I think he listed very nicely a number of opportunities that there are for next generation observation systems in general. So basically we see important challenges in the integration of additional essential ocean variables in our observations, and more specifically for biology and for biogeochemistry. At the same time, we need to meet the needs of the blue economy with our observations, simultaneously with meeting the needs of our legislative drivers, like MSFD, marine spatial planning, and so on. And then thirdly, we need to aim at covering the coastal to open ocean continuum. So we need to work in an interoperable way, and we need to combine mobile and fixed platforms in our observations. So at the Flanders Marine Institute, we are building our data and observation infrastructure in the framework of European research infrastructure projects, S3 projects like LifeWatch, EMBRC, and ICOS. So first of all, ICOS. ICOS is the European Integrated Carbon Observation System, and VLIS has 2 stations with world-class biochemical measurements, actually, for CO2, for pH, for oxygen. And one of those 2 stations is our research vessel, the Simon Steven, and another is a multidisciplinary measurement buoy that is located in the offshore wind farms in the Belgian part of the North Sea. Next to ICOS, we have LifeWatch. LifeWatch is an S3 infrastructure for biodiversity and ecosystem research, and it builds virtual research environments and data processing tools. And it is a distributed infrastructure with participation of various countries. And for Portugal, the contribution is shaped by CBio, the Research Center in Biodiversity and Genetic Resources, and also Porbiota. For Belgium, the contribution is coordinated by VLIS. And one of the main elements in the LifeWatch contribution by VLIS is the development of a marine biodiversity observatory. This observatory, it is generating high quality long-term biodiversity and ecosystem data series, and it's using innovative methods in order to do so. So we focus on including imaging sensors, acoustic sensors, environmental DNA techniques, and we make use of artificial intelligence for more efficient data collection and data processing. Another important aspect of the LifeWatch infrastructure is the development of virtual research environments that we set up to allow efficient access and analysis of the big data that is generated with the sensors. Development that is worth mentioning in this context is the LifeWatch Maritime Industry Data Cloud, which we are setting up for the maritime industry in Belgium, together with the Blue Cluster and the Flemish Supercomputing Center. Of course, there's also important initiatives at European level that we actively contribute to in this field, like EMODNet, the European Observation and Data Network, and Blue Cloud. Next to LifeWatch and ICOS, there is EMBRC, which is a European infrastructure on marine biological resources. And EMBRC recently launched the EMOBON initiative, a network that uses DNA-based methodologies to collect information for biodiversity and for bioprospecting applications. VLIS is collaborating in this network together with Portuguese institutes like CCMAR, the Center for Marine Sciences in Faro, and CIMAR, the Interdisciplinary Center for Marine and Environmental Research in Porto. So together with IMAR, the Institute of Marine Research and also the University of the Azores, VLIS has initiated the European Tracking Network in the framework of a number of EU projects like COST APM, Atlantos, and Mission Atlantic. This network groups animal tracking initiatives and observations all over Europe, and specific data systems have been developed by VLIS and are serving, among others, the Portuguese tracking network of CoastNet. The interesting thing about such networks is that they stimulate collaboration and transfer of expertise. Like, for example, the use of animal-borne sensors, which is now leading to 2 interesting research collaborations that are mentioned here on the slide. One on a study of habitat use of European eel in the Azores, and one on bluefin tuna migrating between the North Sea and the Strait of Gibraltar. So on top of the observation capacity that I just described, we are pushing for application of this capacity in research and innovation projects, and more particular in support of sustainable blue growth. We have a number of research lines ongoing on plankton dynamics, underwater soundscapes, fish movements and habitat use, and so on. And some examples worth mentioning specifically in this blue economy context are ongoing research and innovation projects where we use multi-sensor moorings and also unmanned surface vehicle to register and to quantify sound, which is produced by piling, the framework of offshore industry, shipping, marine mammals, and so on. So to conclude, thanks to the rapidly evolving technological developments, we now have a growing portfolio of observation platforms and systems at hand. And we are pushing these systems towards the priorities for the next generation observation. So finally, and this is my last slide, we see many opportunities to further our collaboration with Portugal in this context. As shown, there are several ongoing initiatives for tagging and tracking migratory species and for advancing animal-borne telemetry as a component of the ocean observation toolkit. There is also interesting developments on acoustic observation systems for underwater sound detection, and we can put that forward in a collaboration. More in general, we are interested to collaborate on development and integration of marine autonomous systems in smart observation, and this in support of science on the one hand and blue economy on the other. With that, I want to thank you for listening.
Thank you, Klaus. It was also very interesting. It's nice to see that you already have cooperation with Portuguese research institutes also. So, and also you touch one of the aspects that is very important with all these observations, the manage of the big data and the virtual research environment that you talk about. It's very interesting how you manage all this data, and so thank you very much also for your presentation. So I want to thank all the speakers. It's always fascinating. We pass a little bit our time, but I always be surprised with the amount of research, and like someone said, we know more than about Mars and the moon than the ocean. So it's a lot ahead of us still to explore. And I will pass the floor to Rui to give the floor, I think, to Ian Shepherd. That was a former colleague of mine when I work at the Task Force of Maritime Policy in Brussels. So the floor is yours, Rui, and I think you will introduce Ian Shepherd now for his keynote speak. So
absolutely.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and sorry to have passed the time a little bit.
No problem, Federico. Thank you so much for having been the chair of this interesting session number one. Thank you also to all the speakers. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Ian Shepherd, Senior Expert at DG Mare, European Commission. The topic will be European Commission's plans and policy on ocean observation and data. Please, Mr. Shepherd, the floor is yours.
Hello. Can you see the slide that I put up?
Yes, we can.
Okay, then we made a consultation about ocean observation. Just a minute, I have to stop something. Okay, now, just, sorry, back. Okay, slideshow from beginning. Okay, sorry, that should be better. So we did a consultation, a public consultation on ocean observation. And we asked stakeholders, we got 160 replies, and this was their reply from civil society, private bodies, public authorities, and research. And so generally they're covering coast, deep oceans, and the shelf. By the way, I found the 3 presentations previously very interesting, and I love the pictures in some of them as well. So, so next slide. So then we asked them, how could we improve ocean observation? If you look on this slide, it shows the orange is where they said we can improve it a lot, green slightly, and brown not at all. So brown, there's very little brown. So everyone thinks that we can improve ocean observation a lot. And this is largely through more transparency and more collectiveness. Collectiveness means different countries acting together and different ministries acting together. So, okay, you look at EU coherence. This means better coherence between the different departments, environment, fisheries, research. Better involvement of citizen science. There's a study that's of about 90 citizen science programs in the marine area, which shows they're not used to their full extent. International fora, we could present, the EU could present a better unified position at international fora. National coordination, and this was the study from Eurogoose that that showed that in each country there's about 5 ministries responsible for ocean observation, you know, environment, transport, research. And so some people have told me privately, but they're not going to write it down, that these don't speak to each other, and they organize separate trips with separate boats. And there's often issues for sharing. There's more opportunities for public-private partnerships. The sea basin, around a sea basin, there's much better prospects for improving. This is the conclusion of the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, where each country organized their own observation, whereas particularly around the close seas, the Baltic, the North Sea, Mediterranean, Black Sea. So better sharing of assets, use the same ship for different purposes. So I hope this is going to happen with the new Portuguese vessel that you talked about, and the Belgian one. More standardization, which is obvious, you all know that. Better technology, again, as we've seen, more autonomous sensors and platforms. And then we asked them, what's the EU role in improving the ocean observation? And very high percentage of people from research, public authorities said the EU has a big role to play. And in fact, we're going to introduce a proposal early next year in how we can improve the effectiveness and efficiency of ocean observation and try to make it better appreciated by other stakeholders. I'm sorry I wasn't there at the beginning, but I did listen to the presentations. Stop sharing. How do I stop sharing? Stop sharing. Okay, that's it from me.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd. Really interesting, your presentation. We believe that this link between the public officials at the European Commission or elsewhere, those that indeed will play a role in defining the public policies that will be applied to this blue economy realm, but also in other areas of the European economy, are super interesting and important. So therefore, we appreciate very much your participation at this event, and we wish you the best. And probably we will invite you to come back next week, next year, not next week. I'm so excited about this event. It's not every week that we will have one, every year, I must say. So thank you again, Mr. Shepherd, for your participation. And now it's time to give the floor to Anne Overmeijer. So from the Blue cluster in Belgium, Anne will be the chair of session 2 on safe and smart maritime operations, smart infrastructure, and marine robotics. Please, Anne, the floor is yours. And thank you again for joining us in this occasion. Thank you, Anne, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, my name is Anne, and I am CEO of the Blue Cluster, as mentioned. This is an innovation network, and we're focused on the sustainable blue economy. We have about 180 members from industry and then 20 others from public partners, like research institutes. We are recognized by the Flemish government as a spearhead cluster, and that means that we have the opportunity to co-fund innovation projects, the collaborative innovation projects, and some of them will come along within the next few minutes with the presentations of the Belgian speakers. Now, we all know that the ocean offers us tremendous opportunities to develop solutions for worldwide challenges, like renewable energy and sustainable food and sustainable transport and so on. But it is also a hostile and a dangerous environment. And it requires a lot of resources, materials, and also workers. So data and the subsequent use of the data in models and tools to predict the performance and to optimize designs and automate operations at sea, they will be crucial for the development of a new industry that will allow us to create safe working conditions and create efficient and cost-effective solutions. Now we have 3 speakers on this subject today, and two are from Belgium and 1 from Portugal. And let's start then right away with the first speaker, that is Sébastien Depré. He is a co-founder and COO at .Ocean. He holds a master's degree in IT and is responsible for IT, for human resources, for marketing and finance within .Ocean. .Ocean is based in Bruges, and it provides a cloud-based navigation system and profiling systems. His talk is about autonomous navigation and situational awareness for the maritime and defense industry. So, Sébastien, the floor is yours. I hope you have your voice back because I heard this morning that it was a bit difficult.
Yes. Can you hear me, Anne?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Anne, for the nice introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the Belgian-Portuguese Chamber of Commerce for this nice opportunity of presenting here. Secondly, I really hope my voice holds during this presentation because I've caught a flu. It might be because of the European Championship, which I yelled a bit too much, or luckily it's not COVID. That being said, let's introduce our company. .Ocean is a maritime automation and software company. We offer technology to bring site automation to the next level by making it completely autonomous. In this presentation, I want to give you an overview of how we do this, what projects we have done or are doing, and lastly, some ideas and questions on future collaboration between Belgium and Portugal. .Ocean uses a building block system. So our systems are built with various building blocks. On the left side, we have our controller. Controller can be mounted on any type of vessel. It's a smart autopilot that allows vessels to navigate on their own, but by connecting it with the cloud, either a local cloud or via the internet, we make the navigation far more intelligent. On the right side, we interface with existing or new data services like AIS, VTS, and radar feeds from ports, camera systems, weather information, and many, many more. We try to interface with existing data services as much as possible, or we place our own cloud-connected sensors like smaller radars to fill gaps, for example, wind farms. Data feeds are also connected with our cloud platform, giving our vessels situational awareness. Because we have cloud computing capacity at our disposal, we can even go further by fusing the data into decision-making algorithms for path planning, create a virtual world even, and allow swarming of multiple systems. Recently, we were also able to generate digital elevation models using the same sensor data, but more on that later. So our focus at Ocean is actually creating low cost, low maintenance autonomous vessels by keeping the sometimes really expensive sensors on board of the vessel to a minimum, but instead try to use existing sensors around the area of operation on the shore. A small introduction on our markets currently. We have been active for 10 years into automation projects for ports, waterway authorities, wind farm owners, maritime contractors, and since recently also in defense industry. It all started with the deployment of an autonomous system together with the Port of Antwerp, where an autonomous vessel was deployed for hydrographic survey and still is. As previously mentioned, our unique approach is that we connect the vessel in a network with the port's geographical information system, GIS, and their vessel traffic management system. By using this connection, we provide information to the vessel that allows autonomous control of the vessel. So instead of putting all the intelligence on the vessel, we use the surrounding data. Based on this information, the autonomous vessel is also able to anticipate and avoid other vessels in the port. Go check out our YouTube channel if you want to see the video of this happening. In the next phase, we increased the navigation and control complexity on the busy river the Scheldt in Belgium. We deployed an autonomous vessel for dredging specialist DEME and the Flemish Waterway Authority. The vessel, called the Marine Litter Hunter, is collecting and transporting waste between two docking stations. You can see the one in the middle of the Scheldt, and then the docking station on the border, which is also powered electrically and is charged onshore. How did we do the automation of this? We used situational awareness. The autonomous control and safety procedures were realized by using a distributed radar system and extra sensors on shore. We have in this particular setup, we have two static radars, cameras, a wind sensor, and a tide gauge on the side, and one radar, AIS antenna, and GPS on the vessel. And of course, an online AIS feed from the region. We all merged this together and via our cloud platform with a user interface, of course, can be used to configure safety zones like you see here, the red and the yellow and the green ones. So the boat goes from the inside, from the middle of the Scheldt to the outdoor, to the border autonomously. So it can be configured to safety zones, docking zones, monitoring, and other safety procedures, because there were a lot of safety procedures before continuing autonomous sailing on the Scheldt. So, for example, anchoring, there's a small button, anchor, if there's something happening. This can also be automatically, but of course, a supervisor is also watching. As you can see in this picture, the MLH, the Marine Litter Hunter, so the small vessel, is also able to avoid other vessels if they trespass in the shipping lane. The cool thing is, because we have a lot of access to a lot of sensor data, terabytes of sensor data, to be honest, enables us to create cool derivative data services. For example, what you see here on this slide is a digital elevation model using radars from the Scheldt, which can be used to real-time see the evolution of the Scheldt to follow up dredging works and so on. Our next steps in the ocean is we are currently working on a few defense-related projects. The first one you see on the slide is for Marsur. It's a maritime surveillance on the North Sea. And this is together with the Royal Military Academy, the Royal Higher Institute for Defense, and the Belgian Navy. Together with them, we are investigating how multiple autonomous vessels can work together to patrol at sea and enable automated coastal surveillance. In this project, particularly, autonomous vessels at sea in combination with onshore and offshore sensor detection systems, because we have already installed a radar network system on the wind farms in Belgium. And all these data and radars from the shore and off the shore, offshore, can work together again into a network that connects with the cloud, and can detect unauthorized vessels. And if an unauthorized vessel is detected, an autonomous vessel will go inspected. If it's really unauthorized, and then the police will be called and take care of the rest. Last slide. I think I'm well within my presentation limits, I guess. One of the biggest projects we are working on currently is defense related also, and it's an EDIDP project funded by the EU. It's called IMAX, and is our first project on land vehicles. Actually, it's just the same intelligence and same technology we use, just on driving. Here you see a small, we bought some random robots, 24 I think in total, and driving them at the office, which is kind of fun. But they will be used for swarming technology, which we are developing, to drive the unmanned ground system. So the one you see, the UGS you see on the picture, the green one, from III Robotics. My last slide, some ideas on a collaboration with Portugal, how we see it from the Ocean's view. First of all, we would like to set up collaboration with Portuguese companies to work on European Horizon projects. And actually, today, now at this moment, new European Defense Fund calls are just being released. So we're really looking forward to work together with the Portuguese on that. Next to these collaborations and these projects, we are also considering setting up a .ocean site in Portugal. So we are really interested, how can we set up a business there? Are there incubators, startups, hubs, whatever? Is there Belgian and or Portuguese government funding foreseen in this process, or funding or help? And how do we acquire personnel there, because we will need more software developers and AI engineers to scale up .ocean. This concludes our presentation. Thank you for your attention, and I'll give the word back to Anne.
Thank you. Thank you, Sebastian. I see that there was already a proposal in the chats to work together.
Okay, nice. I haven't seen it, but
really interesting examples we have seen here. And in view of the time, I immediately go to the next speaker, Tiago Moraes. He is a senior engineer and head of the INEGI's Sea Technologies Group. INEGI is a research institute, and he coordinates there a significant number of projects with the industry and partners in the scientific system at national and European level. Now, Tiago will present an overview of INEGI and how it plays an active role in the innovation in the blue economy. And he will highlight a number of innovation projects funded by Matera and Horizon 2020, I believe, about capabilities of improving capabilities of robotic underwater platforms, and also about predicting the structural behavior of offshore installations. Tiago, the floor.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me well? Okay, I hope so. First, I would like to thank you for the invitation that was made to me to be present in this event. Thank you, Anne, for your words of introduction. My presentation, as Anne mentioned, is talking about innovative smart structures to reduce OPEX costs for offshore operations. My agenda for today is talking about INEGI, the blue economy at INEGI, the smart structures under development, and Belgian-Portuguese collaborations for the blue economy. Regarding institutional information, well, INEGI is an Institute of Science and Innovation in industrial. Sorry, I look here. Just a problem here. Okay, now it's okay. It's an Institute of Science and Innovation in Mechanical and Industrial Engineer. It's a research and technology organization founded in 1986, focused on research and development, innovation and technology transfer, and technology-based innovation activities like consulting and in technology service, oriented to the development of industry and economy in general. We are located in the north of Portugal, in town of Porto, and we have delegations as well in south of Portugal in Évora and in Turkey and Brazil. Being a non-profit private association recognized as a public utility and having its own team of more than 250 collaborators, we have competence in different fields of expertise like new composite materials and process, additive manufacture, computational mechanics, structural health monitoring, product development, and so on. And we have in our own facilities highly qualified laboratories, which allow us to support activities developed by INEGI in different sectors such industry, capital goods, aeronautics, space and defense, automotive and transport, civil infrastructures, renewable energy, health and sport, and blue economy. INEGI is an active agent in innovation in blue economy. We have a set of specific competencies to support the blue economy, mainly hydrodynamic analysis, energy resource assessment, structural solutions for marine environment, mechanical design, mechanical systems for harsh marine environments, and recently data analytics and artificial intelligence that allows us to support all the technology that could be installed in the bottom of the sea, at the water column, or even in the sea surface. This is a few examples of technology that we could be able to develop. As well, we work in a collaboration with the University of Porto and Institute of Superior of Engineer of Porto. We have the facility, or we use their facilities to test the technology we develop, such as floating structures or ones that could be installed in breakwaters, for example, to harness wave energy, converters, structures that we develop to gather data from the ocean, that we test in labs, as well in real environments, that we collect a lot of information to next develop new structures of the future. We use engineering tools as well to support our activity. We don't have much time to talk about our project, but we have, over the last 15 years, INEGI has played an active role in blue economy, with participation in different projects that goes from marine renewable energy, aquaculture, and marine robotics. INEGI have experience in development of technology solutions focused on ocean engineering and artificial intelligence, designed together with companies, universities, and research centers. Examples of solar islands, floating wind turbines, gravity-based structures, wave energy converters, and so on. For this presentation, since I don't have much time to present all the projects, I select two projects, the Nintendo project and Marine project. Once they are related with the title of my presentation, that are smart structures that are under development. Well, as you all know, ocean exploration has struggled with challenge of autonomy, thus requiring a new set of technologies for continuous effort to promote underwater activities. In areas as diverse as underwater mining, the exploitation of fauna and flora, structural inspection, among others. AUVs present themselves as state-of-the-art solution to overcome this problem, although with several limitations in terms of autonomy and range. Nintendo project is funded by Martera Partners, and in project, INEGI is responsible for developing electromechanical system for attaching autonomous underwater vehicles to submerged docking stations. Taking as an example of the Mars, the AUV developed by Inestec, we are designing new docking stations, aiming to ensure that vehicles can increase their mission time 24/7 by transferring energy and data from the docking station to the vehicle and from the vehicle to the docking station. Most of these docking stations are funnel-shaped and limited to one size, and have also been proved to cause significant damage to AUV hulls. Based on current challenge of AUVs, namely in precision, position, and maneuverability, among others, INEGI, with collaboration of INESCTEC, developed a docking solution for our OVs, which allows multi-direction coupling for different diameters. We are currently developing intelligent solutions that allow the docking structure to adjust its position depending of the trajectory of the vehicle. We are now on laboratory tests. Related to Marewind project funded by European Union, or Horizon 2020, will improve the offshore wind energy sector, extend the service life of wind facilities, as well as to boost economic growth and create new job opportunities across Europe. Marewind targets the main aspects related to materials durability and maintenance in the offshore structures. INEGI, among other activities in project, are developing tools to predict the structural behavior of offshore underwater foundations type gravity-based structures using the advanced analytic approach such as machine learning and artificial intelligence that allows that these gravity-based structures will be able to sense external stimulus of the ocean environment by the integration of optical sensors in final components to perform structural, environment, and chemical monitoring. These newly detected states will be used to identify anomalous conditions by comparison with conditions previously analyzed, numerically detect hazards, and evaluate if intervention is required regarding concrete and metal materials as well polymeric coated materials. INEGI also will implement a full-field non-destructive testing techniques such as infrared thermography and innovative 3D digital image correlation as an accurate and cost-effective non-contact optical technique for measuring physical critical aspects of the wind blades. Related to the Belgian-Portuguese collaboration for blue economy, well, INEGI in recent years has collaborated with several Belgian entities, as can be seen in this slide, on the topics related to materials offshore for wind facilities, life cycle assessment related with batteries for maritime transport, developing of hybrid wave energy converters, etc. Emerging activities such as ocean energy, marine biotechnology, and robotics are developing quickly and will play an important role in the European transition towards a carbon neutral, circular, and biodiversity economy in 2050. Belgium, over the last decade, has been recognized as one of the most active European countries in field of offshore wind projects. Portugal is taking its first step towards the commercial exploration of offshore floating wind turbines with WindFloat Atlantic project. Despite the difference between technology installed in each country, justified by water depth and distance to the coastline, access to the electrical grid, I believe the knowledge available in research centers and in the industrial sector experienced by both countries could benefit a win-win strategy in order to create jobs and increase exports, not only related to the offshore wind sector, but as well in offshore aquaculture sector. On our part, we will be available to contribute towards the prosperity of the industry and economic through scientific and technology innovations. Thank you. Obrigado.
Thank you so much, Tiago. And I also believe there's a lot of potential collaboration with what you just said with other speakers today, but also with some of the attendees. I know that there's people here from the Provincial Development Agency who exploit a platform just outside the port of Ostend, and they'll probably be interested in the results of your project in Tendu. but we need to go. We need to go to the next speaker. Time is running quickly, and I would like to introduce Bruno Steutz. He is a offshore geotechnical engineer at OE and also a visiting professor at Ghent University and researcher at the VUB, the Free University of Brussels. The University of Ghent, VUB, and CIRIS, they formed together the so-called OE lab, on and offshore wind infrastructure lab. And this collaboration has a 10 years history in test infrastructure for offshore wind and in industry-driven research and innovation. Now, Bruno here, he will talk about new solutions and insights for data management to allow site-specific assessments, which will allow better design of offshore foundations. But I think I will better give him the word to tell you more about him. Bruno, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anne. Let me just share my screen to bring up the presentation. So let's share that one. Apparently, I still need to allow Zoom to share the screen. Sorry for the short interruption. Is it possible for you, Anne, to show the presentation? Okay, Anne, can you hear me now? I think I should be back at this point, and I should be able to share my screen, which is better now. Okay, can you?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry for the glitch. I don't work with Zoom regularly, and system permissions had to be set. But without further ado, I'm going to start my presentation because I'm here to talk about our work as OELAB, so the combination of Belgian industry and universities, on site-specific assessments of offshore wind turbines mainly on the Belgian continental shelf, but I'll also give a brief highlight on how Portuguese wind farms in the future might benefit from the same kind of tools. So as a geotechnical engineer, during my career, I've seen in many cases how geotechnical data is scattered across multiple data sources, and it comes in a variety of formats. So there's a material which you can touch and look and smell and feel. There are data files in lots of different formats, PDF reports, what have you not. But ultimately, what we need to do is to translate all of that information into the design of an offshore wind turbine structure. So determine dimensions for a foundation that will ultimately be built and installed in the field. So that data is collected often in the early stages of projects. And early stages of projects mostly means that there are limited funds available to collect the data. So that is something which is limiting us. So we're always looking at data which is relatively scarce for a project site. That also has a consequence that any data that we collect, we try to make the most out of it. What also makes a difference is who is actually collecting the data. In the early days of offshore wind, a developer was getting a concession for a site, was responsible for getting the site data and then interpreting it and making sure that it was used properly in the design. These days, with the Dutch model, which is uptaken more widely, we see that the government is actually doing the data collection and then presenting that data set to developers as input for an auction process. That also means that farm layouts are not yet known. And so you might have geotechnical data which is not specific for a foundation location. And if you can interpolate, that means cost savings further on in the project, or as a developer, you can decide to go and collect further site data. In terms of the data volumes that we're handling, especially when geophysics are involved, we're talking about multiple terabytes of data, which are stored somewhere, be it hard drives, be it servers, whatever. And these data come in a variety of formats. So as an engineer, you're always trying to wrangle data into the formats that you're looking to have for your design calculations. The question can be asked, if we have multiple terabytes of data, but yet still our data is so scarce, then how can we build upon experience which is embedded in past data for future projects? Not only on the site characterization side, but also on the side of the actual foundation response. In a design process, we will often also see that, especially if the data is not very extensive, that locations will be clustered, and so locations with similar geotechnical properties will be assigned certain design parameters, which are then used to develop pile dimensions, and ultimately these lead to fabrications. In design stage, conservatism also creeps in because you want to make sure that the structures you're building are safe and that they can fulfill the intended purpose. Once the geotechnical interpretation has been done and the design has been done, the design is translated into structural dimensions, and those structural dimensions give rise to an as-designed structural dynamics response of the foundation, so that as-designed response is something which is specific to the design process. It's only when you really get to the field that those assumptions will be tried and tested. Then the design phase finishes, the foundation is installed offshore, and the question is, what happens then? And I think this scene from Friends explains it really quite well. Often the installation contractor leaves the site, the designer has done his job, and things finish there. The data stays on a server, on a hard drive, and is not being used further because the data is owned by a specific project, and people who could integrate that data often even don't get the opportunity to do so. So that's why we wanted to look at data in a more holistic fashion. So look at geotechnical and structural data of offshore wind turbines, not on the scale of a wind farm, but on a scale of multiple wind farms, and even looking beyond borders at other sites in other countries as well. So the Soil Twin Wind Soil R&D project has as a goal to look at improved monopile soil structure interaction based on site-specific data, geotechnical and structural, backed up by in situ monitoring data. So once our foundation is installed, the in-field response is measured and can be used to update models. This allows us to do fleet-wide assessments of entire fleets of offshore wind turbines rather than verifying the design at a single location. This research work is being undertaken at Ghent University and the University of Brussels and funded by the Flemish Innovation Agency and the Federal Economics Ministry. To capture our data, we decided to build a semi-structured database which captures the main entity relations in a foundation project. So you have a project, and a project has multiple foundations. Each foundation can have one or more soil tests associated with it. But to improve the data storage, we decided to keep some of that data in an unstructured format, because soil test results, for instance, come in many shapes and forms. So we store those test results themselves as JSON, JavaScript object notations. That is quite specific, but it allows us to use this database in a very versatile manner. In any case, we do our data intake process once. So we take our project data, we QA it, and we put it into the database, and then it becomes available for all future projects or all future calculations that we are doing. And rather than having engineers going through files themselves and trying to actually get the files into the format they want, they can always go back to the database because it's a single point of truth containing the inputs for their calculations. And as I mentioned, any public domain data that we can get our hands on, we also take it into the database to expand our data set. The database is hosted in the cloud, so the data is stored securely, and you cannot access the database without going through a web application which handles all of the user permissions. And we give our researchers permission on a need-to-know basis because we are handling proprietary project data in there as well. So any project level data requires specific permissions, and also permissions per data source are controlled. So for instance, geotechnical engineers can look at the geotechnics, but don't always need to see the detailed structural dimensions of the monopiles. The architecture that we're using for that, that's again quite technical and specific, but it's a serverless architecture, which means that the web application, we only are charged for computer time when requests are being made. And that is very cost efficient for our use case, where we have researchers launching bursts of requests to the API gateway, and we only pay for that specific time. So it becomes very cost efficient to store your data in that manner. When a researcher requests,
I would like you to conclude because
yes, I will
time is running out.
So I will conclude by showing you some examples. So the researchers get their data by making HTTP requests against an API, and then they get their data back. And so this is an example of soil data which comes back, and because it becomes so efficient to query the data, you can also create very powerful visualizations. In this case, this is a visualization of the geology on multiple North Sea sites, where you can see the brown clay layer, which is dipping towards the right, but also increasing in thickness. And superimposed on that is the CPT resistance. So you can see low cone resistance in the clay, higher in the sands. So you're able to draw conclusions on a much larger scale and from much larger data sets than before. Also, in terms of foundation dimensions, it is quite instructive to look at multiple foundation geometries and to simply retrieve all of them. So all the individual sections that are stored in the database to do a site-specific analysis. These site-specific analyses then become very straightforward. We always have our database as the entry point to the workflow, and then researchers can build their analysis pipelines to, for instance, look at eigenfrequency back analysis and to identify any causes to the changes in eigenfrequency very rapidly. Our goal is to build true digital twins of real-world offshore wind turbines, which are effectively models which are not static in time, but can be updated over the lifetime of the foundation. And in terms of Belgian-Portuguese cooperation, geotechnical data is geotechnical data wherever we go. And I think our database architecture lends itself quite well to storing any kind of offshore geotechnical data. So research collaboration on geotechnical data sharing and soil characterization would definitely be welcomed. And also, if we look at the majority of more floating foundations in Portugal, we can say that our metadatabase, while it's currently being developed for monopiles, has the possibility to be extended for things like anchors, mooring layouts, etc., to again provide that single point of truth for floating foundations. Thank you, and again, apologies for the technical difficulty at the start of the session.
Thank you, Bruno. That was a little bit of delay, but the only 2 minutes, I guess. And so, yes, there's very interesting research going on in Belgium as well, and lots of collaboration opportunities. But I give the word back to Rui for the next speakers.
Thank you, Anne, for doing a great job as chair of this session. Thank you also to the speakers. So many brilliant ideas that are coming out from this session. And just to remind you that this is being recorded and also broadcasted live on YouTube. So all the presentations will be available also in our website later. But now we're going to give the floor to the third session, session number 3, data analysis, data mining, and decision support tools. I have the great pleasure to give the floor to Piet Harens. Piet, as you all know, is the founder of Hyedis, a Belgian company that is also present in Portugal. And Piet embodies actually the true spirit of our chamber, because he's not only our vice president, he's also, he has studied both in Portugal and Belgium, and he speaks both Portuguese and Flemish, amongst other languages. So we are really glad to have Peter as our vice president, and we owe him also the organization of this event, both Piet and Hyedis. Thank you so much for putting this event together. Looking forward to continue working with you in this blue ocean realm. So now I give the floor to you, Piet. Please take it away with the session 3.
Okay, thank you, Rui. It's a pleasure to share the third session on data analysis, data mining, and decision support tool. As Rui told, my name is Piet Harens. I'm founder and chief soil and strategy officer of Hyedis and vice president of the Belgian-Portuguese Chamber of Commerce. With Hyedis, we enable regenerative solutions and system thinking in combination with engineering and nature-based solution for marine, offshore, and coastal challenges. And in this context, we believe that it's important to share knowledge, but also to collaborate and link diverse viewpoints, but also to collect and process data to better understand the environment and to support the industry 4.0. Data is often called the new gold, but like with all raw material, it has to be processed and properly prepared to use it successfully. Data is becoming, as we have heard today already, a key factor to optimize complex activities, to support decisions, to reduce operations in harsh conditions at our coastlines, in our harbors, and offshore. This session will explore how data mining, data analysis, and data processing can be used as part of decision support tools, and how it can contribute to the future of the industry 4.0. We open the session with Thomas van Oostenberge. Thomas is founder of Fluves, a passionate innovator for water and energy challenges, with a demonstrated track record in the IT and the water consultancy sector. He is a skilled engineer in water resource manager, monitoring, and modeling. Thomas will illustrate how sensorization of ports, water bodies, pollution, and infrastructure can contribute to improve the management of our water-related infrastructure. Thomas, go ahead.
Thank you, Piet. Just share my screen. So normally you see my screen right now?
Not yet. Yes.
It's coming. Well, let's hope. Yes, I think you see my screen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Piet, for the introduction. So I'm Thomas, the founder of Fluves. And Fluves develops sensor platforms for flow-related processes. Or sensor platforms, they measure on a lot of locations, and they measure all the time. So we measure, as we say, every meter and every minute, and that's our tagline, flow monitoring every meter, every minute. So with our systems, we develop maintenance platforms, and maintenance platforms that predict when something goes wrong in the environment. And what I'm going to talk about today is about the applications of our systems for port environment. But first, a couple of words on the technology we use. We use Internet of Things sensors, which basically are data loggers combined with sensors and connectivity. So as you know, you can connect today your fridge or your washing machine, but I'm going to talk about harbor-related objects that you can connect to the internet. So that's one technology we use. The other technology we use is fiber optic sensing. And what we do is actually we transform a fiber optic standard telecom cable, so the same cable that provides internet to your home, we transform it into a chain of thousands, of even 10,000s, of 100,000s of sensors. And we measure on all these locations or temperature, or strain, or acoustics, vibrations. So these two technologies are used by us in different applications. And I'm going to talk about 3 different applications: water bodies, pipelines, and offshore cables. First, water bodies. And I'm going to show you in a small video what the idea is of the technology. So instead of what is used today, a couple of accurate sensors at high cost, measures very accurately, but only selected areas, we do it differently. We measure on many, many locations with low-cost sensors, IoT sensors, and we are able to create a distributed view on your harbor area. And combined with the algorithms we have, we can analyze trends and predict if something goes wrong, or if a certain zone, for example, becomes not able or not good for swimming, for example. And we have a couple of examples where we use those kind of IoT sensors. We have a project where we deploy hundreds of EC sensors, or electrical conductivity sensors, in the neighborhood of harbors to measure the salinization. With electrical conductivity, you can measure the salt content, and it's related to the drought problems we have in Flanders. And near the coast, we measure and predict where a certain area, a certain small river is going to have salinization problems. So that's one example. Another example of the salinization, the IoT sensors, you see, is the sedimentation in locks. Here is a door of a gate for a lock that has sedimentation problems in the harbor of Antwerp. And we developed these sonars that can not only measure the water level, but also the sedimentation level at very low cost. And that's deployed in different locations in these lock doors. So that's another example. And we have a third example of these IoT sensors. And the third example, hopefully will come now on the screen. Yes, sewer overflow, but it's a bit too fast. Oh. Can you still see my presentation? No, sorry, I'm gonna have to share again. Just a minute. Apparently some system resource error. Just a minute. Back to presentation mode. Okay, back on track. So these are the IoT sensors for the sedimentation in the lock. And these are the sewer overflows. So we measure the tilt of the gates of the sewers. And by measuring the tilt, you can actually predict when pollution will come in a certain harbor dock. So that's another application. And we also measure with fibers, we measure the pollution into a certain harbor dock. So not only with IoT sensors, but also with fibers. And how does that work? If you have a certain contamination in your harbor dock related to industrial activities of the 50s, that sedimentation typically, or that pollution typically sedimentated to the soil. And if afterwards some residential area is built around that harbor dock, typically there's a cap installed on top of your sedimentation that is polluted. And with a single sensor, you cannot measure whether that pollution is leaking. And therefore, we developed a technique based on fiber optic grid that measures on thousands of locations whether the cap layer that is isolating the pollution is still thick enough. And if it's not thick enough, then an alarm is given, warning for restoring the cap. So that was the first application. The second application we're working on in the neighborhood of harbors is pipeline damage. Pipelines typically are abundantly present around harbors. And what we do is actually we monitor, but we also predict whether a pipeline will have damage and causes pollution. And what you don't want to have in your harbor, I think, is this view. A lot of pollution, in this case, it's oil in a harbor. So the pipeline monitoring, in our case, consists of a fiber optic that is fixed on the pipeline, and that actually measures the leakage of the pipeline. Now, the innovation we have developed last years is that we can retrofit this monitoring system on existing pipelines. So when a pipeline underground needs to be monitored, we can actually install the pipeline of the fiber, in the pipeline. So the fiber is actually blown through the pipeline, to an existing pipeline, and connected to a laser box. And what we do is we create platforms that show the status of this pipeline and alarms the owner if a leakage is generated. Just to illustrate how that works, my colleague will open a valve here. So this is a pipeline in the Ostend Harbor. There's a fiber in the pipeline, and the moment that my colleague will open the valve, you will see in the screen at the right, you will see a large sound. Well, these are sound measurements that you see, and the lighter the color, the higher the sound, and this is pretty big leak. So you see the leak over a distance of 100 meters because it's really resonating in the pipeline. So that's something else we do in the neighborhood of harbors. And then ultimately, the third application is offshore cables. We measure on different wind farms. We measure both physical problems and electrical problems for different offshore wind farms. Here are the cables going to the Belgian offshore wind farms next to the harbor of Zeebrugges. But while we were doing and performing this operational monitoring, we also accidentally, actually, we measured an earthquake. Already in 2018, there was an earthquake in the Fiji Islands, and that was traveling around the globe. It was pretty hefty earthquake at the scale of Richter 8.2, so a pretty big one. And we were measuring at that time the vibrations in the cable, and the moment that the earthquake passed through the earth crust, we measured it very clearly. And we wrote a nice article about it in Nature Communications. So if you're interested, let me know. Of course, from that seismologic process, you can, of course, quickly go to environmental monitoring, because you can also use it, for example, for noise level detection during pile driving, or marine mammal detection. Marine mammal, the sound I'm going to play you is a sound of a North Atlantic whale. It's a pretty distinct sound. I hope you can hear it. Well, this is the sound of a whale. You can hear it from very far away. This is recorded with a classical hydrophone, and this is recorded with our fiber optic system, a DAS system as it's called. And you see it's very similar. And the difference is that we measure it on every meter along that cable. That can be 100 kilometers long. So that's all with the same technology. And that brings me to the last slide. That's the link also with what happens in Portugal today. There's a very interesting project going on, the ELA link. going from Europe to Latin America. It's an internet fiber optic cable, but there are initiatives also to use that cable for seismological observations or environmental monitoring. And we were very enthusiastic about the potential collaboration, what we can do for EllaLink, because we're quite experienced in everything related to environmental monitoring with fiber optic. So that was my talk. Sorry for the little technological disruption, but the floor is back to you, Piet.
Thank you, Thomas, for illustrating us the importance of real-time and continuous measurements with the low-cost sensors, the IoT sensors, and the fibers. The second speaker in this session is Lancelot Blondeel. He's researcher at ILVO, Flanders Research Institute for Agriculture, Fishery and Food. His research focuses on defining and analyzing the feasibility of innovative integrated terrestrial and marine aquaculture system and supporting tools for the Belgian fishery sector to support them in their ecosystem-based management of their activities. And Lancelot is going to present the smart fishing VisTools GeoFish. It's a set of online tools to provide valuable information with regarding to fishing activities. Lancelot, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I hope you all can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for inviting me, first of all. So my name is Lancelot Blondeel. I was already introduced, but as Piet already said, I'm a fisheries researcher at the Institute for Agriculture and Fisheries Research. And today I'm going to present you two tools we developed to help support the Belgian fishing sector towards ecosystem-based management. And these tools are GeoFish and VisTools Analytics. Before I start talking about these tools, I first want to give a very brief overview of our fishery because it's a special case, and I do not assume everyone knows anything about us. So to be clear, our fishery is fairly small, only 65 vessels. We focus on flatfish, so on sole and plaice that live on the bottom of the sea. And to catch them, we need to use fairly heavy fishing gear called a beam trawler that drags on the bottom and catches all the flatfish that have the tendency to dig into the sand or live on the surface. And when we speak about the Belgian fishery, many people assume that we stick to Belgian waters during our activities, but that's not true. In fact, our activities are spread over a very large area. We go to the north almost till South Norway. To the south, we go to the Gulf of Biscay, till the Celtic Sea and the Irish Sea. And all of these fisheries are visited by 65 vessels, shifting between certain target species in certain areas. And this exposes our fishery to a great patchwork of regulations, area-specific rules that have to do with Natura 2000 areas or offshore wind installations, then species-specific rules such as quota limits that are bound to these areas that are marked here, and then catch limitations such as bycatch problematics. It's hard for the fishermen to find their way in this patchwork of information, and outside of that, the vessel owners themselves do not have high resolution information of their own fishing activity, as up until now, even the most modern fishermen still tend to write their catch successes still in notebooks. So to track this, we have to send scientists to observe at sea how successful the catches are and then relay them to calculate the new quota, which makes it a very complex issue. So in short, fishery and fishery policy lack a clear and easily accessible overview of fishing activities and the relationship of these activities to regulations at sea. And it is for that that we created two tools. One, GeoFish, which focuses on spatial visualization of fleet activity and relationship to regulation and economic impact on the fleet level. And then VisTools focuses on very high resolution tracking of the fishing activity using conventional onboard equipment. And I will now shortly present these two tools. First, GeoFish. Well, GeoFish is a website that anyone can visit from Belgian fishery or from regulatory organs. And the first thing it does is just have an easy interface that shows Belgian activity of the fishing fleet in general in different waters they visit throughout the different years. This tool is interactive, so you can just select which specific fishery you want to visualize, in which year, and which target species. Then the next use of this tool is that above that fishing activity layer, you can then couple the area restrictions. And as you can see here, every green area is a specific Natura 2000 area with its own regulations, and the blue areas are offshore wind farms. And for a vessel owner that is visiting the areas, he can now just simply click on a certain area, and then he gets a pop-up that it's in Dutch here, but in the pop-up you can read what the specific restrictions are in that area. For instance, here, no bottom trawling fishery is allowed in the selected circle. Outside of that, another major issue for government officials is to assess the impact of the closure of a certain area or the construction of a new offshore wind farm and the impact it has on the socio and economic performance of the fishery. So Geofish also offers an easy interface to evaluate the impact the closure has on a certain area on the socioeconomics of the fishery. The biggest case in recent years was, of course, Brexit, and it was also a major reason why this tool was developed. And by just clicking the polygon of the exclusive economic zone of Britain, you can evaluate that in 2019, about 8,700 tons of fish were caught in English waters, and it is about 40 million euro value, which is 44% of all Belgian landings are caught in English waters. And it is, oh, I don't know what is happening here. I hope everything is back. Yes, okay. So 44% of all Belgian landings are caught in that specific area, and the tool allows it to easy evaluation of impacts of closure of areas. The next tool, VisTools, focuses more on the specific activities of one fishing vessel. And how did we do that? Well, on board of a fishing vessel, there are very interesting tools, GPS, the towing meter, electronic weight scale, and all these different instruments gather data, but none of it is centralized and sent or used for self-evaluation or evaluation by scientists. So the VisTools project focused on automating the flow of information from a fishing vessel using conventional onboard equipment in real time and without bothering fishermen with extra tasks. So how did we achieve this? Well, we gathered GPS data because normally when we use location data, it is VMS, and it's only a ping once every 2 hours, I think. Now we have a GPS ping every second. We couple it to the fuel use, the towing force meter, depth gauge, and catch data. We couple it through a concentrator on board, which is a small box that aggregates all the data and gives it a reliable timestamp. We process the information at ILVO, couple it to external databases, and then we relay it through a Power BI tool for the vessel owner with a delay of maximum 2 minutes, I think. So it's almost real time. And this gives this easy visualization for a vessel owner, where once he just wrote all the information in the book, now he has an overview of his estimated revenue for one fishing trip. And then in black, you have the cost that goes, that diminishes from the sum associated with towing, so while the vessel is fishing, and in red it's while the vessel is steaming, so going to his fishing area. And then in red, you all know how a heat map works. A fisherman can easily evaluate how successful or how lucrative a certain area was. He can then click on the interactive interface to just look at a certain trip or study throughout all the years where he caught the most sole in a specific season. So all this information has a timestamp of has a very high resolution, almost every second, and suddenly gives a vessel owner and scientists as well very useful insight in fishing success with a backlog throughout time. Now, this information can also be used for scientific purposes. For instance, GPS now gave us great insight in studying where vessel owners specifically target fish. So these grid patterns are towing patterns where a vessel goes back and forth to fish primarily on sandy bottoms to target sole. And then we see they know the area very well and avoid always the coarse sediment. Now, this is very interesting for us to evaluate benthic assessments of habitat sensitivity, but it gets even more interesting if you couple a TD sensor on the beam trawler itself. Then you have very high resolution GPS data as well as depth temperature graphs of the entire tow. And the algorithms measure automatically when is a tow starting, when is a tow stopping. In the future, we also hope to couple turbidity, salinity sensors, WASP, and camera video image analysis to this system. Right now, we have tested this system on 1 fishing vessel and are now upgrading to 5 new fishing vessels, hopefully starting this month. So in conclusion, with these 2 tools, we offer or we gather a high resolution spatial data from a vessel, but also offer it to different end users. But these tools are also very easily adapted to a local context. You can install a concentrator on any vessel. And these tools can benefit not only the fishermen, but also producer organizations, management, scientific institutes, and government officials. In the future, we hope to combine this information to increase the potential for marine spatial planning, like building catch prediction models, more decision support tools, learn more on avoiding sensitive areas, real-time closures, and evaluating socioeconomic implications of marine spatial planning, and improving advice towards fishery management. And we hope we can cooperate in the future with Portugal. In fact, we are going to. There is a new project called Iliad that aims to create a digital twin of the ocean. And we will work together with WAVAC, INSEC, and other companies in Portugal, among others, in a large consortium to give body to this digital twin of the ocean. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. And thank you for having me today.
Okay, thank you, Lancelot, for introducing us how data-driven tools can support fishing activities and be used as decision support tool and elements in scientific studies. The following contribution is from Ana Oliveira. Ana is researcher at Maritech, has a master's degree in civil engineering with an emphasis in hydraulics. She has a special interest in the management of water resources and particularly in flood modeling. And she will present CoastSense and its applications to Cascais. CoastSense leverage the state-of-the-art scientific knowledge on remote sensing, imagery, processing, and data-driven modeling to address key environmental and climate challenges in coastal humanized territories. And Anna, the floor is yours.
Hi, Pete. Is my screen shared right now?
Not yet.
Okay. Right now?
Yes.
Okay, just a small correction. I do not come from Maritech. I come from Plus Atlantic. Maritech is, however, an associate of Plus Atlantic, although that's not also where I come from before Plus Atlantic. I believe that probably there was a small error regarding the presenter. That being said, Plus Atlantic is a collaborative laboratory, and as with other collabs in Portugal, we are focused on applied research solutions at Plus Atlantic, specifically focused on marine science and space technologies. I'm going to present the CoastSense project. This is an early stage applied science solution, and the rationale for the presentation will be the motivation that underlines the CoastSense development, the concept itself, and then its pilot application to Cascais and the Greater Lisbon metropolitan area to end and conclude with the Portugal to Belgium collaboration pathways. So the motivation behind the CoastSense is the main drivers in terms of societal challenges. I believe that all of you are familiar with climate change extreme weather events, and planetary health. And the rationale behind coast sense is how these drivers affect coastal environments, especially those that are humanized, that is, the ones that have cities or human activities located in coastal regions. When we mention these kind of drivers, we usually consider them like a global hazards, many times out of sight and out of mind hazards, but that is not really the case. For instance, according to several sources, this is just one of the numbers mentioned, there are about 792 trillion losses by 2100 in case we don't respond to the challenges such as climate change. So despite the global challenges, this is something that may happen in our backyards, as it does several times regarding storms and overtopping or heat waves. So that being said, what we want to know in urbanized landscapes in coastal environments is what the hazard is, where will it happen, and when it will happen. The coast sense concept wants to provide an answer to these kind of issues, and it leverages on the concept of digital twin. Maybe you are familiar with digital twins. These are a natural evolution from Internet of Things, in which you have a digital solution where you can measure in real time and forecast several environmental parameters. The coast sense itself is a multidisciplinary concept from an Earth system approach, so both in terms of land-based hazards, biological hazards, but also hydrological ones. And we want to provide the added value of real-time monitoring, short-term forecasts, and also long-term climate change-related scenarios. The major requirements to deploy such a solution is to ensure accuracy assessment and high spatial and temporal resolution. There is below a kilometric pixel. The methodologies that are being used to reach these milestones is remote sensing imagery, that is acquired from satellites, citizen science workflows. So there are a lot of citizens who have sensors, private sensors, whose data is available to the research community. And with this kind of input data, we can run machine learning algorithms and also calibrate deterministic numerical models for downscaling purposes. Now on to the pilot at Cascais. In collaboration with Cascais municipality, we have been providing to the system that there is currently in place. It's an urban management and monitoring system, usually called the C2, and we have provided several layers. And although currently we have provided only the layers, the aim is to evolve in next steps for real-time digital solution to communicate those hazards to the public. Those layers are focused on atmospheric and oceanic processes in the current moment, and I'm going to go past some of these input layers. The first one, which I'm showing you, is the NO2 concentration levels as measured from the Sentinel-5P satellite. These are resampled to metric resolution, and this is a time series of weekdays, so excluding weekend days, in which you can see which are the areas of the municipality that are more exposed to higher concentration levels and which are the periods of the year which are more at risk. Another example is the response to heatwave events, which you know that are quite menacing in Portugal and Mediterranean countries. So using citizen sensors for temperature and also numerical models from IPMA, we were able to provide a high resolution spatial and temporal prediction model to pinpoint which locations are more at risk in each time. And this can also be translated with which population and neighborhoods and buildings are more at risk in each time step to provide an early response for public decisions. Now on to oceanic applications. These are focused on several physical parameters, such as the significant wave height or the temperature. These two physical variables are related with the several applications and hazards. The first one, which is the significant wave height, can help us pinpoint in which moment of a given day when there is a risk of overtopping due to wave height and storm surges. So according to Oceanography conditions. And another application related with the previously mentioned temperature physical variables, it's the prediction of water quality losses from emissions from the currently implemented sewage. So these are the concentrations in particular matter from fecal concentration levels. So to conclude the presentation, this image highlights what is in common between Belgium and Portugal. We are two old countries that have coastal occupation. This coastal occupation is humanized, so we are facing similar application targets, pilot areas, let's say. In addition to that, we are more or less exposed to similar climate change response challenges, and we are also characterized for an aging population. Given the early stage of this solution, we think that there are abundant shared opportunities for financing and scale up this solution to other locations, including Belgium, such as the Horizon Europe or the LIFE funding mechanisms. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Anna, for the presentation and also for illustrating how remote sensing combined with citizen science workflow and machine learning and artificial intelligence can be used for forecasting hazards and reducing risks for citizens. Quite interesting. The last speaker for this session is Ricardo Marvin. Ricardo is a co-founder of Beta I. He's entrepreneur and connector. He has a passion for space and education, and also co-founder and CEO of Evolve Space Solutions, developing software products for the aerospace industry. But he's going to present us his point of view on the blue economy and innovation.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the invitation to the Chamber of Commerce. It's a pleasure to be here and talk a little bit about Betty. Just a side note, you talked about Evolve. That was a company that I did over 10 years ago that I sold, but it's a passion of space that I have. So thank you for the mention. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what Betty does and especially targeting what we do on the blue economy. Can you see the slides? Yes, okay. So a little bit about Betty. Basically, we're an organization that works on collaborative innovation programs between big corporations that have specific problems and then startups that could bring technology, or research centers or SMEs that could bring technology to solve some of these challenges. We work with around 150 corporate clients in over 20 countries in the world. And we started about 10 years ago. So, like I said, corporates and startups and the challenges in the middle. Our 6 core areas are sustainability, energy, finance, health, agro-food, and of course, blue economy. So I'm going to focus a little bit on the blue economy parts. But just to give you an overview, these are just some of the, I can share the presentation after. I know we don't have much time, but it provides some of the programs that we've been doing, like Smart Open Lisboa is a huge program we do with the City Hall in Lisbon on mobility and sustainability. Free Electrons is a a global program on energy with over 10 energy utilities from around the world. And Reset is a circular economy program that we do in Paris with a bunch of companies focused on sustainability for packaging. So regarding what we do in the blue part, I'm going to talk about three things. One is the fund that we have and invest sometimes in blue economy startups. Also the Blue Tech Accelerator that we have, the first one that we did on ports and shipping, and the three others that are coming. And then on this Atlantic Smart Port Blue Acceleration Network that we're building with over 300 ports from around the world. And so let's go. So this is, I spoke already a little bit about this. We're basically based in Lisbon. We have also an office in Sao Paulo, Luanda, Brussels, and Boston. So blue economy, everyone here knows about the figures regarding the blue economy industry. The thing that I think it's interesting is look at established sectors and emerging sectors, and really how can we leverage also on the emerging sectors and tackle that part. Of course, the SDGs is very important, the Paris Agreement and the European Green Deal, they all connect to the blue economy. Regarding the Blue Tech Accelerator, basically we did the first one, and I saw Fórum Oceano was also present in this, and the Ruben Aires from the Fórum Oceano was a very essential part to actually develop this in conjunction with the Ministry of the Sea in Portugal. And basically we wanted to focus on exactly what are the challenges of ports and shipping companies now on the 21st century, and how can we adapt both ports and shipping companies to look at new innovations that could actually transform, for instance, a port into an innovation hub. And so the program, like I said, started with ports and shipping, but now we're developing three new programs, one on green ports, one on sustainable seafood, so aquaculture, and one on ocean energy. And this will all start in 2021. So we're now in the final touches of the three programs and defining the details, but they will all be launched in 2021. How this actually happens is we prepare very well what are the challenges. We do a thorough needs assessment. We scout for the best startups from around the world. We select them. There's a very thorough boot camp with the different companies and different business units inside each company. And then we pilot the companies and we see what results will come. This program, the Blue Accelerator, was very successful, the ports and shipping, because, and here you can see some of the partners that we had, the shipping companies. We also had Inmarsat from England, from London, which is a very big telecommunications company through satellite. And the results were very interesting. We had at the end 18 pilot projects. So we had 11 startups that finished, that did the full program when they finalized for the pilots. And then in that, we had 18 pilots being created. And some of them really had an amazing impact for the companies that participated. So like I said, 11 startups, 18 pilots, some of them are still ongoing. And it's interesting to see how these programs, then these companies sign contracts long-term with these shipping companies or ports, and then they create a real impact on the economy. Regarding Blue Tech for 2021, like I said, we have these three programs, the green ports, the sustainable seafood, and the ocean energy. And like I said, they all will happen on the end of third quarter, beginning in the fourth quarter of this year. They will start and then they will continue in 2022. So if you want to see more, you have the website here, bluetechaccelerator.com. Regarding the other program, the Atlantic Smart Ports Blue Acceleration Network, this is a program that was started as a European project, and we are the leaders of the consortium along with the Fórum Oceano, and we have in the network 41 ports and 5 ports associations, 15 investment funds, 27 companies, 18 blue accelerators, 6 business associations, and 11 policy entities. This is a gigantic program with a lot of partners. 391 ports are in this program. Plus we have, of course, the support from the Ministry of the Sea. And the goals are really to create or to identify these 10 common blue economy challenges, to attract 450 startups, to achieve pilots with these 30 innovative startups that bring solutions for at least 30 ports, to attract 6 million in direct investments, to mobilize 5 billion on potential private investments, and to achieve a reduction of at least 100,000 tons of CO2. So these are the main goals really for this Atlantic Ports Blue Acceleration Network. And the program started last May and will last for 2 years. And up to now, it's been really interesting to see all the collaboration that has been working or happening between all the stakeholders. These are some of the stakeholders that are involved. And here are the partners, as you see, and there's several European partners, but we also have a partner in the US that is helping on the network of the accelerators. And then I wanted to show here just for you to see really what kind of project this will be. We have these 6 blocks, but the idea is really to think of networks that make all these ports connect and build, for instance, an investor network or an acceleration network, or even how do you see the common challenges between the ports, and they all learn from each other and they can advance to the pilots a lot faster than if they were going alone by themselves. So and I'm going to finish here, and so that I also give time to other speakers. But the last point here is really 2 things. One is if anyone would be interested in knowing more and collaborating with us from Portugal or Belgium, we're more than happy to explain in detail what we're doing and see how we could collaborate. And the second one is, like Sebastian was saying prior, there are a number of European calls right now that are opening right now, not only in the maritime area, but also there are other places in different clusters that connect with the maritime. And it could be very interesting to see if anyone would be interested in having a call and seeing if there's any calls we could do a consortium for. That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ricardo. That brings us to the end of the session. And I would like to return back to Rui. Thanks all of the speakers for your very nice contribution.
Thank you, Pete, for again helping us setting up this event and for doing a great job in chairing this session. Thank you also to all the speakers. As we are a bit lagging behind, I will straight to go to session 4, education, communication, and social engagement. The chair of this session will be Jan Seys from Vlies. So I will give the floor now to Jan. Thank you for hosting this session, Jan, and the floor is yours, please.
Okay, thank you, Will. Welcome all to this 4th and last short session. My name is Jan Seys. I'm the spokesman and head of communication at Vlies in Ostend. And I used to be the chair of the European Marine Board Communications Panel for 7 years. Vlies, just to mention that, is a scientific institution based in Ostend in Belgium with a staff of 120 people. And that, among many other things, is supporting facilitating and also conducting innovative research for the blue economy and for other purposes, doing technological development, for instance, with the Marine Robotics Center. And of course, and that's why I'm chairing this session, we are also very much into education, outreach, and public engagement. And so it will not surprise you that one of my main messages is that education, communication, and outreach is not just an afterthought or a detail. It's not because this is the last session that it's not important. I would say the opposite. It's really crucial. It's so important to gain acceptance and support from the wider public for what we do. And if we want to achieve a blue society and a blue economy, we will need that civil society very strongly. And that's quite important. That's exactly also what they found out and realized in the US in the early years 2000, when they started up the ocean literacy movement, and realizing that every citizen on the planet should at least have some basic insight in how a person is impacting the ocean, and the other way around, how the ocean is impacting our lives. And the role of Belgium and Portugal there has been quite crucial, because we managed to bring that concept to Europe. Vlis in Flanders by organizing the first conference on ocean literacy in Europe in 2012, and by co-launching the European Marine Educators Association, MC, and Portugal by playing a major and leading role in creating the Atlantic Connection, based on the Galway Declaration of Atlantic Ocean Cooperation. Both countries also were quite crucial in dealing with marine science communication, because you don't need only the public, but you also need scientists and experts that are able to communicate with the public. So the University of Porto Simar, together with Ciencia Viva in 2014, started with organizing the first conference on marine science communication. So this was a new initiative coming from the European Marine Board Communications Panel. And we did the second edition in Belgium in 2016, renamed as Commotion. Today, Commotion is the standard for marine science communication conference in the world. And third, and that's my last point, also in education, I would say mainly Portugal is really leading in ocean education with the concept of blue schools. They are extremely strong in blue schools in the concept. Now it's also part of the European network of blue schools. And in Flanders, we are happy that since the last 2 weeks, we also have our first official blue schools, thanks to the efforts of so many people. But I promise to keep it short, so I would like to give the floor to Sarah Grancino, our first speaker. Sarah is working at Eurocian, and she has been working at the Lisbon Oceanarium for 12 years, I understood, and is now into marketing and communication at Eurocian. Eurocian, we all know, is based in Lisbon, is the European Center for Information on Marine Science and Technology, established in 2002, working with partner organizations, member organizations. Vlis is one of them, and we are proud to be part of that. So, Sarah, please, I would like to give you the floor to talk about ocean public outreach and awareness.
Hello to everyone. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you, Jan, for the presentation. I don't know if you can see my PowerPoint. Is everything okay?
No, not yet. You have to share the screen.
I shared the screen already, but let me try again.
Okay, now it's okay.
I know? Okay,
yeah.
Sorry. So I will present you what Eurocian is doing. And Eurocian is the European Broken for Ocean Science and Technology, and we develop several activities regarding ocean literacy and outreach. So Eurocian is an international, independent and non-profit scientific organization, and it was founded in 2002 by the Portuguese Foundation for Science Technology and the French National Institute for Ocean Science. As a broker for ocean science and technology, we support the advances in these two areas by fostering information exchange, interaction, and innovation among our members and the ocean community and the general public. So Euroocean has two kinds of members, which are either public and non-profit organizations. The 12 full members are European Marine Research, Innovation and Entrepreneurship Funding and Outreach organizations with an outstanding expertise, technology and experience, such as Vilis, that you well know for sure. Our members work with experts in many key fields, like blue biotechnology, plastics and noise pollution, sensors and sensing, big data, artificial intelligence, circular economy, ocean literacy, and many other fields. Our cooperating members are organizations with a regional or global reach, involved mainly in activities like ocean governance, policy making, and education and outreach. Our expertise, it's founded in promote information, interaction and innovation, like I told you before, and through providing timely and reliable data, information and knowledge through our databases, awareness activities, studies and reports. We create effective and long-lasting cooperation and collaboration opportunities through networking events, disseminating calls from projects and tenders. And as well, we develop communication and outreach activities and the provision of project management, expertise, and resources. One of our biggest projects, or since 2006, it's the Research Infrastructures Database, RIV, and it's one of our core activities is the development and management of comprehensive data open to the public on a wide range of marine research infrastructures. The aim of RIV is to offer data of all existing ocean research infrastructures in Europe, which are dedicated to ocean science in a broad range of activities. It provides the first level, of knowledge and characteristics of each facility, and as well the links and the contact to access the operator of these infrastructures. Really, is being developed since 2006, and with the purpose of compiling relevant European information on marine research infrastructures to support policymaking, research projects, and funding initiatives. The present version of this database is a result of several interactions, including the merge of heterogeneous databases and the standardization of the available information. Since the last year, we was integrated in the European Atlas of the Sea, that is a very powerful tool for ocean literacy in Europe. Euroocean have been participating in several European projects as a leader or co-leader of outreach, communication and dissemination. One of these projects that Jan mentioned, it's All Atlantic Ocean Research Alliance, ANCOR. So ANCOR results of science diplomacy efforts involving countries from both sides of Atlantic Ocean. And it aims to enhance marine research and innovation cooperation along and across the Atlantic Ocean from the Arctic and to Antarctica. This project has several joint pilot actions, such as the Blue Schools Network, that aims to connect schools from the Atlantic countries to rise and promote ocean literacy and society awareness with no geographical, cultural, social, and language boundaries. And the All Atlantic Blue Schools Network will promote a bottom-up process where each school builds its own projects based on its social, cultural, economic reality. And linking all these schools together will enhance knowledge and exchange and create synergies. Besides this joint action, the project created the All Atlantic Ocean Youth Ambassadors program that enables the next generation to become actors of exchange in their own communities by promoting stewardship of sustainable development of the Atlantic Ocean. Besides ANCOR, Euroocean is a founding member of EU for Ocean Coalition, that is a coalition that connects diverse organizations, projects, and even individuals that contribute for the ocean literacy in Europe. And this is a bottom-up initiative, and it's supported by the European Commission. And this initiative aims to unite the voices of European citizens to make the ocean a concern for everyone. As a co-leader of communication in this coalition, Euroocean have been driving the dissemination of several activities of EU for Ocean, and such as campaigns like the brand new pledge movement, that is the Make EU Blue campaign that was launched last May by the European Commissioner during the European Maritime Day.
Sarah, you have 1 more minute, please.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry. So sharing this knowledge produced by the members, the coalition and by the relevant stakeholders, we are bridging to the public, or bridging this knowledge to the public in a simple and tangible way. So regarding collaboration opportunities, so Euroocean is open to partnerships in research projects and tenders, in managing big data. And of course, we are open to new memberships and as a full members or cooperating members in areas like aquaculture, data science. We are open to hubs and clusters, and we can provide them our network of expertise and services. So I'm not take too much time. So if you want to know more, you can follow us on our social media, or you can go to our website. Thank you, and sorry for taking more time.
No worries, Sarah. Thank you very much for this clear and nice overview of what Ocean is doing. As we are running short in time, I would like to go to the next and second speaker, because actually basic knowledge and outreach is not the only thing when we talk about training and education, but you also need skilled people and very specific trainings. And therefore, as second speaker, we have Katrien Krill. She's working for the Provincial Development Agency of our coastal province in Belgium, West Flanders, where they stimulate innovation and entrepreneurship. So Katrien will elaborate on Upskill, a program that is upgrading offshore skills for the future, including also a future training lab for blue energy. Katrien, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jan. I think the last presentation is still open or still shared, because so I cannot share my screen now.
Yeah, so Sarah, please, if you can stop sharing.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I'll start sharing my screen. So sorry, I have to go. I'm trying to get it on full screen. I'm not sure if you can see it already.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, I'll try to escape again. Sorry, cannot click anymore. Try to escape, but I cannot for the moment. Okay, it's like my computer blocked a bit. My apologies.
Katrien, are you still around?
Jan, shall I jump in and tell you about our mission to Viana do Castelo while we wait?
Yes, maybe that makes sense. Yeah,
great.
That's fine.
Let me do that, please. Thank you, Jan.
Thanks.
Great. So as I said at the beginning of this event, we are organizing a trade mission, an economic mission from Belgium to Portugal. And that would be on blue economy, indeed, and at Viana do Castelo municipality, that's north of Lisbon, so a coastal city north of Lisbon, that has a track record in attracting investment on the blue economy realm. They have, for example, a maritime economy cluster, but also an energy cluster, namely that deals with offshore wind energy. There's this famous EDPR wind float project that is a pilot project in Portugal. So together with the municipality of Viana do Castelo and the collaboration of other Portuguese entities, we are bringing to Portugal. So on the 10th, 11th, and 12th of September, so 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we will bring to Portugal a number of Belgian companies, namely those that are participating in today's event, but also other that we have mapped down so far. And we will come back to you individually with more information about this trade mission to Portugal in September this year. So this is a message that I was planning to give at the end of this event, but as Katrien was having a bit of a problem in launching her presentation, that's it. So please join us for this economic mission to Viana do Castelo. We will come back to you in due time. Thank you. Thank you, Jan.
Okay, thank you. Katrien, so if you can try to share your screen right now, then...
My apologies. Yeah. I was kicked out and don't understand. Sorry. I hope this time Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much. My apologies. So thank you, Jan, for giving me the floor. And of course, thank you also for the Chamber of Commerce to have the opportunity to tell a little bit more on the importance of upgrading the offshore skills for the future, the offshore skills, digital and technical skills. So, and first of all, very short, POM West Flanders, as I work for the POM West Flanders, and this is the regional development agency of the province West Flanders. And we have an important facilitation role. So we stimulate collaboration between several partners, just as cluster organizations, but also businesses and also knowledge institutions to have a strong collaboration. And we focus on several spearhead sectors, and one of them is the blue energy. So I'm working for the team Blue Energy, and we are mainly focusing on several European projects. As you can see, we have 4 of them for the moment, and today I'm going to talk about the Into Power project shortly, but mostly on the Upskill project. So seeing the topic of the section today is on education and communication. As Jan mentioned, is also very an important topic next to all the technical aspects. We have within the Upskill project, we have created or developed a training lab, Blue Energy. And within the Into Power project, we also have had actions related to communication and also on education, but I will come back to that in a few minutes. So first, the Upskill project. Why did we develop the Upskill project? It was because we saw there was a lack of suitable personnel that had the right qualities and the right skills. And so due to the automatization and due to digitization, it's the job content changes all the time, and skills become also obsolete. So that's why the POM West Flanders wanted to invest in new state-of-the-art infrastructure in several sectors, and especially with in view of strengthening the digital and technical skills. So also, as mentioned, within one of the sectors is the blue energy sector. And as you all know, it's still quite a young sector, the blue energy sector, but it is evolving very fast. So when you think of the 5G sensor technology, unmanned automated vehicles, it's very important for employees and also students to upgrade their skills and strengthen the skills during their life. So that's why POM West Flanders also invest in a state-of-the-art training lab, especially for the blue energy. So this training lab will be developed in Bluebridge in Ostend on the Ostend Science Park, which is being developed for the moment very fast. And the target audience of the training lab will be students on the one hand side, but also we are looking for employees who are already taking part within the offshore wind industry, and they can have training at their own initiative, but also via the employer. So there will be 3 main components within the training lab, and one of them will be the simulated control room of a wind farm. So as you can see, this will be equipped with a working station and visualization walls, and we will try to use as much as possible open data and also as much as possible real data. So on the left side corner, you can see the Blue Accelerator. That's the test platform, the offshore maritime test platform from the POM West Flanders. It is located 500 meters offshore from the port of Ostend. And we will have digital access to the Blue Accelerator. So the data from the Blue Accelerator will be imported. Also the same for the data from the offshore wind farms. And also we will use drones, aquatic drones, aerial drones. So all those data will be imported to the training lab. And so it will be very useful to train some events and calamities that can happen in a wind farm. And we will use the real and simulated data we acquire. So it can be very useful training for everything related to big data, like data analysis, data engineering, and so on. A second component will be an immersive virtual place situation. And we will use innovative equipment, just like the VR and AR, as you can see. And the most important goal is to train operations for employees already onshore. So before people have to go offshore, they can train in a very safe environment. And it can go to several actions like boat landing, also decommissioning in the future, maintenance of wind farms, and so on. And of course, those two components will need a very powerful ICT backbone. So regarding to the time frame, the training lab is not developed yet, but the first phase was to gather information from all relevant stakeholders. So we had conversations with the offshore wind industry, with wind farm operators, also with the knowledge institutions, which was very important to be sure that we will have a relevant training lab that also takes care of the needs of the offshore industry. So we will appoint an operator for the training lab in November 2021. So the POM West Flanders will have, is the owner of the equipment, but we will have an operator for the for operating the training lab. And we will have acquisition of the equipment in December, and then the first quarter of next year, we will start with the exploitation of the training lab. So just regarding to this part, possible cooperations, of course, we would like to invite all Portuguese partners to participate in training programs that will be developed in the training lab. But we also think of cooperation between the higher education institutes. For example, common PhDs can be very useful to have some together, to create PhDs together and have some training in the training lab. And of course, I think Portugal, the offshore sector is already also well developed. So for sure, we can learn from you and we can learn from each other and exchange knowledge on the technology sides, but also, of course, on the needed skills and the digitization that's already going on in Portugal also. So very shortly, the Into-Power project is the innovation to push offshore wind energy regions. Also in this project, we had some actions related to communication and education. First one, we had developed brochures of acceptance in German, in English, and in Dutch. And it is on the advantages of the offshore wind sector to have some more acceptance and raise awareness for the general public, which is also very important, as Jan already mentioned. And you can find all information also via the link below. We were also quite proud to have been able to develop an offshore wind energy MBA that has been accredited, has been officially accredited this year. And it consists of 9 modules. And you can choose to participate or in one module or in several modules or the whole package, also with the MBA thesis. And the first upcoming module will be the one on operational safety and risk management in September. And then last but not least, we also had a look for the youth, for the students between 10 and 12 years and 16 and 18 years. So to give them more information on the offshore wind sector, also to see all the multiple job opportunities in the sector, and also for the young ones to choose for the STEM directions. So we also made an English manual, so with the information on the equipment and how to start the escape room. So if you would like, you are also able to start an escape room in Portugal. So just for wrapping up, we are really looking forward to cooperate together with you. We can exchange knowledge and expertise. Please feel free to participate in the training lab or in the MBA and develop your skills, but also you can also develop escape room by yourself. So if you would have any other questions, I'm more than pleased to answer them all, and I'm pleased to give back the floor to Jan.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Thank you also to Sarah. And all that remains for me is to also thank the participants for your attention. And I'd like to give the floor back to the president of the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you so much, Jan. Thank you to both speakers. Before wrapping up, I would like to say that not only, as I said before, this has been recorded, so it's available on YouTube, but also the presentations will be made available on our website soon. We will let you know about that moment. Also, please, sometime soon there will be some information coming our way regarding our economic mission to Viana do Castelo. I will like to also give the floor now to Pierre Poncelet, our Secretary General of the Belgian-Portuguese Chamber of Commerce. He has been the rapporteur of this session, so we will be giving you his wrap-up and feedback. I will leave you now with these words. Thank you so much to all the participants, all the speakers, all the chairs, all the support that you gave to this initiative. We look forward to meeting you soon, hopefully in September in Viana do Castelo. Otherwise, in next year's fourth edition of the Belgian-Portuguese Routes for the Blue Economy. Now pass the floor to Pierre Poncelet. Over to you, Pierre. Thank you.
Thank you, Rui. And thank you to all the participants to this very fascinating session of information. I think the organizers managed to collect and to make available a wide overview on what is available, what important, how important data digital can be for the blue economy, its impact it can have already, and the potential it can have further on. Do keep in mind that, as the president said, we will share the presentations. They cover a wide range of topics and subjects and give a lot of information, mainly for someone rather inexperienced in the field. So very interesting. Some keywords I would like to share ahead of this as a, let's say, what really striking to me. First is that, as the ministers stressed out very strongly, it's a new pathway and a new innovative area to work on, which requires a lot of cooperation, a lot of research, a lot of wish, as you had, to share what you know, and you all did show that availability to share and to increase the knowledge. There is plenty of room to do. There is an open, let's say, plenty of opportunities in that field, plenty of ideas. Other things that struck me, we know more about Mars and the moon than we know about the ocean. Belgium and Portugal are two small countries, different in mainly for the size of the ocean or the access to the sea, but they, in that term, they are complementary. But we have in Belgium apparently a fantastic search and research ship that could be available for Portugal also, possibly. Portugal has done something really striking for what the speakers on the blue schools. Well, I think I will try to prepare a memo on a wrap-up rapport on these presentations you very kindly offered to all of us. And I will try to make bring in relevance what was most important, but I guess it will be not easy to give the credit and to give the respect to all the things that have been shown and shared. And maybe one last one is that do keep in touch. Some opportunities of business have already popped up through the chat box. I'm sure when you go back to the presentations, when you go back to our previous events, when you go back to the rapport that we will soon share also, new opportunities for businesses and new opportunities for exchanges and cooperations will show up. So thank you all for your time, your passion, and your will to share. Thank you.